Okay. I'm Marie Vigourou.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And this is Rude Eats, a delicious podcast where we sink our teeth into every episode of the show Hannibal.
My friends call me a killer if you're still hanging around. You spread all of these rumors that I am the guy who did all of these crimes. I thought you wanted me better, someone you wouldn't use. You said he must be a killer, so now when we talk I have anger issues. You said there's no encephalitis. Now we're knee deep in my broken psyche, and you're eating my friend. You're a cannibal now. What me were you feeding to me at your dinner party? I'm a cannibal now. All I needed was a friend. Hannibal, you're a cannibal. How? Don't even try to pretend. Hey Hannibal, where's Abigail now? I know it's me, Hannibal, and you frame me for murder and feed me in the ear. I know it's really Hannibal, and you smell my neck right next to that ear. You could have been a real friend that taught me all about who I am. I thought you were a real friend, but honestly you're not. Knee deep in my broken psyche, and you're eating my friend. Hug me, were you feeding to me at our dinner parties? All I needed was a friend. Don't even try to pretend. You fuck with my head and blame it on the fever. You suspect really help. You wonder why I let her bragging to our friends. You got me and I did it. I had to tell the truth and I both knew you did it. I hate how that you changed me so much. I question myself. I hate how that you changed me so much. You can go to hell.
Mary, I want to start the podcast this week by asking you a simple question.
Oh, no. Yes. Go
How
ahead.
feral are you about this episode?
So when I finished the episode, I had to really just breathe because I was feeling so sick to my stomach about so many things. Like I genuinely had a moment where am I going to throw up? Just because it had such a visceral effect on me.
Wow.
There's three things in this episode that just disturb me very profoundly.
I think one of the most disturbing moments in Hannibal is Gideon eating his own leg. I think just getting that out of the way, everybody. Just letting people know what's about to happen in this episode.
If you're squeamish about anything, just don't listen to this episode.
It's a little squeamishy. It's a little icky. It's weird because it's not
graphic.
It's not exactly. Yeah, it's not gory. It's not graphic. But the sheer mental idea of it just makes you physically respond, which is extremely impressive. To make a TV show that does that is extremely impressive. Having watched a lot of horror movies and slasher movies over the years, it's really difficult to make a simple dining room table scene make you feel a little queasy, and they did it. So congratulations, I guess.
It's the psychological horror of it all, really.
Yes, absolutely.
Again, I keep coming back to that, where people talk about Hannibal being very, very graphic and difficult in that way. But really, so far for me, what has been the most difficult to deal with is the psychological horror, not the gore.
Yeah.
Right?
Not the cannibalism. It's the
No,
gaslighting.
I can excuse cannibalism. I haven't said that in a while, so I figured I would just get it out of the way.
Got to get your catchphrase out of there.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us which episode we're talking about this week?
So today we are going to talk about Hannibal Season 2, Episode 6, Futamono. Nope, I got that wrong. Futamono. There you go. I looked it up. I looked up how to pronounce it.
Excellent.
So there you go. In this episode, a city councilman's body is found intertwined with a tree. Jack crashes Hannibal's dinner party to investigate Will's suspicions, and a revelation shocks everyone. This episode was directed by Tim Hunter, with a story by Andy Black and teleplay by Andy Black, Brian Fuller, Scott Nimfero, Steve Lightfoot, and it aired on April 4th, 2014.
Yeah, it's amazing how wrong this summary is. Jack is absolutely invited to Hannibal's dinner party. The revelation doesn't shock anyone because only one person sees it. No, like it shocks one person, to be specific. I absolutely adore. We did this with Supernatural too. Like the episode descriptions being just wildly inaccurate. It's always something that's very funny to me, or just kind of like somebody just typing, like having a good time. Because I can picture myself having that job and going like, I don't know, I don't care. Everything is surprised by everybody. I don't know what happened. So,
although Jack is so bad at being normal that it does feel like he's crashing the party.
It is extreme. It's one of the most awkward, like, social setting scenes that I've ever seen in my life. Like, it is horrifying. As somebody who dreads awkward social situations in public, that this would just make me like want to leave the state and retire from the FBI if I was Jack.
Yes, definitely. Like, anyway, I have so many thoughts about Jack just being bad at FBIing. Like, it's just
It's funny, you and I both kind of ignore the crime part of this show a little bit. Like,
yes.
With any of the clue finding or like forensics, any of that stuff is kind of just by the wayside. Like, that's not what we're here for. But it is very obvious when they stop being able to FBI. And I feel like we commented on it a lot. We would comment a lot more when they get it wrong than just when they get it right and boring.
The thing is that, like, when they get it right, it's such a stark contrast to when they get it so incredibly wrong.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So the name of this episode is Futamono. I believe that's how you said it. Hopefully I'm getting that close.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because when I looked it up, it's the same situation we talked about before. Like, all of these are like very tiny dishes as part of the overall like kaseki that we started this season with, and it's really difficult to get information about like specifically what it is because it's much more of a cultural thing. So it's really, really hard for us to like get any details out of it, and we're relying upon a lot of like Western interpretations of Eastern dishes and like all of that stuff. So we're trying our best to get this right, but also when you go on IMDb, someone's like, it's a lidded soup, and I'm like, well, I've never heard the word lidded before, so I'm like, I know exactly what you mean via context, but also like the way that this is a lidded soup episode is kind of crazy to me, and I want you to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. So when we talked about it, we had this really good conversation, and you said something about how this idea of the lidded dish was like pretty spot on for what happens at the end of this episode. I don't know if we want to play coy or if we want to just get it out.
We could talk about it. Like when we find Miriam Lass in a literal like a tank with a lid on it.
With a lid on it. And it's like, right. So like there's this really shocking moment where like Jack takes off the lid of one of the tanks and boom, the dish at the bottom is literally Miriam Lass with -1 arm, which is like another incredibly shocking moment that like disturbed me to my core. But anyway.
Did you have any idea, and we'll talk about it a lot when we get there, but like, did you have any idea, like, was there any possible thing in your brain that was like Miriam Lass is still alive?
No.
Okay, cool.
No,
Excellent.
I was so sure that she was dead. Like, I was so sure that she was dead. And so when I saw, I can't remember exactly my reaction. Yes, my reaction in the Discord when I was live watching was like, "Oh my God, she's alive! No way! No! What did he do to her?"
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it was awful. Yeah, so we talked about that a little bit more, and we talked about how like it feels like there's a lot of revelations, but of course we've already used this theme, so we were like, what's interesting about all of this is that these feels like revelations, but also like it has to be part of a bigger plan, right? It has to be part of some sort of bait and switch or subterfuge, if you prefer. And I know enough about this show to know not to trust Hannibal Lecter, right? So the definition of subterfuge is deception by artifice or stratagem in order to conceal, escape, or evade. And very spot on for what's going on here. And the etymology, which I think is also quite interesting, comes from Latin subter, which means beneath, below, or secretly, and fugere, meaning to flee. So if we put them together, to flee secretly. And I feel like this is some kind of foreshadowing.
I think I'll agree with you. And like as we were trying to get to subterfuge as a theme, I was thinking a lot about this episode, about how things are being like, specifically Hannibal, but also Will, are revealing things to people, are just saying things out loud that would be, like you said, like a revelation, but it's not. It's not truthful in its intention, right? So I think that's why we ended up. I was thinking about like playing poker and bluffing. I think you mentioned that too, and like trying to come up with this idea of like revealing something with the intention of hiding other things. Which there's obviously a great example with Hannibal and the dinner party in this, but also I think Will is going to play into this a lot, as he's literally openly talking about this stuff now in a way that he hasn't up until now. But he's also doing it with like specific intention, and not necessarily to reveal things to people, but to force people to manipulate people into doing things for him. So that's where we get like, subterfuge and like the ability to try to manipulate people and things like that using subterfuge. I'm excited to talk about all of this with you because it's going to be fun.
Oh my God. Do we have any admin to get to? We forgot about admin again.
I don't think so.
Perfect. Okay, good.
Don't know for sure.
Beat by eat?
Beat by eat. Let's do it. All right, so let's start off with Hannibal playing the harpsichord. Do you have a favorite harpsichord song? Just I know to put you on the spot. You think of every single music track you've ever listened to, and then whether or not it has a harpsichord in it.
Listen, I'm going to be real honest with you. I don't think I've ever thought about it. Yeah. Like I've never really reflected on my favorite harpsichord song.
Do you know how sometimes people ask questions that they have an answer to?
Do you have an answer to
that they
it?
just want to talk about?
One? Yes, please tell me about your favorite song.
One of my favorite artists growing up as a teenager was Tori Amos, and still is to this day. Like I love Tori to death, and she's obviously like she's real big on stringed instruments, but she has a song called Tallulah where she plays the harpsichord, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Like it's an upbeat kind of like real fast paced song, but it's got that harpsichord sound to it, and it's just absolutely beautiful. So yeah, I was thinking about this earlier. I was like, I should probably warn Mary, or I could just ask her on the podcast. If she, so yeah, finding a harpsichord song and like a harpsichord instrument in a pop song of any kind, even like any kind of like mainstream album is pretty difficult nowadays, I would assume. So
yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah, everybody go listen to Tori Amos. She was like Taylor Swift before Taylor Swift existed. So.
She was like Taylor Swift.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of fun trying to decipher all of her weird fucking lyrics like I used to. Anyway, Hannibal is playing the harpsichord. He's discovering his own music, as he told us in season 1. We see a lot of up close views of the strings. This is an episode of a lot of changes. It's the middle of the season 2. It's obviously going to change stuff for our characters quite a bit. But also, I think this is maybe the line where they really start leaning into some of the more artistic shots and artistic montages as transitions and things like that. So these up close views of the strings and the hammers, like hitting the strings as he plays the chords, is expect a lot of this kind of stuff going forward. I guess I just wanted to say.
Okay. I love that stuff. So it's all good.
And we see him playing as we see Will in his tiny little crate as Jack arrives. He's just a little tiny little crate. He's a little puppy dog. Jack arrives, and obviously at this point, Will does not know the outcome of his at the end of the last episode. He has not heard. He describes Jack as moving smoothly and slowly. And Jack tells Will something he already knows, that Hannibal was almost killed the night before by the attendant here at the hospital that Will is in. And they said the attendant also killed the bailiff and the judge. And Will says, nope, the Ripper killed the judge because the attendant told me so. And I am fascinated by this exchange because Jack just openly says, and then you told him to kill Hannibal. And Will looks at him and says, nothing I said made that happen, in all seriousness. And it's such a interesting way to phrase this. He doesn't say no, which is like that's a warning. But nothing I said made that happen is such. It leans into our theme so heavily of subterfuge, of saying I definitely said something to him,
Yeah.
But I'm not saying what, and I'm not saying how or anything like that. Also, it plays into Will's deniability, I think, for himself. And that's something I really kind of want to get into, because I think Will's struggling with the moral issue of having sent somebody to kill Hannibal is really, really interesting and fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Well, so that was kind of like what I was wondering about that. Like that, I think that he is trying to maybe legally dissociate himself from this, like especially given the trial and his recent troubles with the law, if we can say it like that. Because, but like you said, we saw the night before that this was weighing pretty heavily on him, and that it didn't sit well with him, right? And so it's this idea of, like, again, presenting his person mask to Jack, or his person suit to Jack, and saying, like, oh, nothing I said made that happen, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't do anything. And I kind of want to be generous to Will here also, because, like, I think the point that he's trying to make is that he could have asked this guy to do anything, and the attendant didn't actually have to do any of this, right? Like, he could have told the guy to go run around the hospital in his underwear, and the guy wouldn't have had to do it. Like, but it's true. Like, Will is a patient in a literal, like, forensic psychiatric hospital, right? Like, I'm sure that nurses and attendants and guards get yelled at to do a bunch of stuff that they don't really have to do, right? Nobody is forcing them to do it. But he chose to do that one thing because he wanted to, right? Like, with the ultimate agenda, right? Again, this idea of subterfuge, which I realized that I had been saying wrong. So thank you for very subtly doing that for me.
I could also be saying it wrong. Don't trust me to say anything correctly. So,
well, we'll see. We'll get emails.
Yes.
So with the ultimate agenda of, like, actually courting Will, right? Like, so I'm kind of like, okay, well, I understand what you're saying, Will. At the same time, you definitely used the knowledge that he wanted to court you in order to take advantage of him, right? Like that. So it's I'm of two minds here.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's kind of like a weird excuse of Will being able to say, well, like, you know, I handed him the drugs, but I didn't make him smoke them, right? Like, I didn't. I gave him the tools, but I didn't tell him to break into the house. So it's that line between encouragement and, I guess, if not manipulation, but like a direct order. And I like the idea that Will may be trying to separate himself from this legally, because he knows a lot of these conversations are being recorded. They could potentially be used against him. So, like, there's an idea that he doesn't want to. If he knows he's innocent from all these other crimes, there's the idea that he doesn't want to put himself in legal jeopardy by confessing to another crime. Yeah. Which he actually did do. Yeah. And then also, like, just the idea that he's wrestling with this from a moral standpoint, and how we obviously see him throughout the episode feel bad about this. Like, we can see him physically change in his mind. He goes from his normal, like, memory palace river fishing situation to growing antlers out of his head, right? Like, he's physically changing in his mind, or his mental picture of himself is changing, which goes along with something he told Hannibal, which is, like, his inner voice now sounds like Hannibal, which is adorable and terrifying at the same time somehow. Anyway,
it's, like, so darkly romantic, you know what I mean?
It is.
Like...
It absolutely is. Yeah, you brainwashed me so much that I think in your voice is just super beautiful and awful. I hate it and I love it at the same time.
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
The conversation continues, and Will describes this common emotion that he says doesn't have a name: the happy anticipation of being able to feel contempt. And they begin to talk about, like, what contempt Will has. He says he has contempt for the Ripper and what he does. And this next line is straight out of Silence of the Lambs, right? Like, he talks about, like, you know, what does he do? What need does he serve? What is his first purpose? And we heard Hannibal Lecter ask that of Clarice Starling, and talking about the killer that they were trying to track down. Me and Autumn both, as he was like, what does he do? What need does he serve? It's like, he covets! me and Autumn yelling at the screen as we're watching this. But no, we're dealing with a different killer. So Will says that he kills people in sounders of 3 or 4, and he takes the organs, but that's not the main thing. He's just taking meat. And he's very cocky here, but he says, do you know why? Because I know why.
I love that, actually. I was like, ooh, Will. Ooh. Ooh. And it sort of felt like that moment where he's like, in season 1 where he's starting to have not the delusions, but like the visions. And he's like, why don't you do your own profiling? And it just felt like that, but like with a really interesting change in power dynamics.
Absolutely.
Because Jack doesn't get mad at him for saying that now. He did back then because he thought that Will was just this like weak little thing that he could just manipulate. Now he's realizing that Will is not that at all.
Well, and it's, I think, like also something that we keep coming back to that I keep wanting to mention is like, this is the first time that we've seen Will under his own control, right? Like he's slowly becoming more and more of his own person that we did not see before, because like almost as soon as the season starts, like this dude gets sick and then Hannibal starts manipulating him. Like this is the first time we've really seen him with outside of that. And he's kind of fucking terrifying. Like he's kind of a scary dude, to be honest with you.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
He says the Ripper is eating his victims, that he kills in sounders of 3 or 4 because that way the meat won't spoil. And he talks, Jack is kind of like shocked at this and says he's another Garrett Jacob Hobbs, and Will's like, no, Garrett Jacob Hobbs ate them to honor them. The Ripper eats them because they're nothing more to him than pigs, which we've seen. I think that's accurate. Like Will is picking up on this correctly.
I had to like restrain myself from like, because every line in this episode I could say something about, and I'm just like, we cannot have a 3-hour episode. I refuse. I refuse.
We're gonna get there. Jack here still refuses to believe, saying like there's no connections to Hannibal, to any of the victims except for maybe Beverly. And I love Will's line here, which is, if the Ripper is killing, you can be sure that Hannibal is planning a dinner party. And Will ends this conversation by saying, who does he have to kill for you to believe? And the camera zooms, but the camera goes right to Alana Bloom. And it's
Jeremy.
And it's, oh man, I know.
Jeremy.
Alana's in such danger in this episode. It's so terrifying.
Like, please tell me that the meat that Hannibal is cutting in episode 1 is not Alana. Like, please just tell me that.
I don't necessarily remember, to be honest with you. You're talking about episode 1 of season 2, right? Like the scene that we see right before.
Yes.
I don't remember. I don't know if that's important or not, to be honest with you. I don't remember if the meat is important or if it's just like, all meat around Hannibal is kind of suspect and important in some way.
Well, I mean, of course it is suspect, but I'm like, just please don't let it be Alana.
If it is, I don't remember it being specifically called out. So I don't know if that's any kind of reassurance whatsoever. But
well, it just means that she doesn't die like in that moment, but it's just, I don't know. She's going to die. Roast of Alana.
Also, just want to mention, like, I think is it Carol Daverness is the actor who plays
Carolyn.
So I think I told you recently we went back and watched Wonder Falls, which was the show that Brian Fuller did with her, and it doesn't really hold up that well, to be honest with you. Like we kind of abandoned it, but it's remarkable to me how just absolutely like just like beautiful this woman is. Like when the camera finds her and it's a full on face shot as she's looking directly at camera, and it's just one of those moments of like I don't know, it's just one of those like, holy shit, like I see why you're a star, right? Like you have the face, you have a face that can do that, and obviously like we talk a lot about Gillian Anderson being the same way, but I wanted to give Caroline her props here because she's almost like heartbreakingly beautiful in some scenes in this. So
she really is. I think. I mean, I just love her blue eyes, like with that like dark hair, right? Like those kind of like winter features. It's just like she is just so pretty in those moments, especially when she's wearing blue at the dinner party.
So her and Hannibal are in Hannibal's kitchen as he's chopping up a heart. They're discussing the things that make them human. And Alana comments on the heart being skewered. And Hannibal responds to the line, "My heart certainly feels skewered."
What a diva.
And
what a diva.
He talks, and I genuinely don't know if this is true or not. He talks about having nightmares for the first time and feeling like the noose is still around his neck. It's hard for me to imagine Hannibal having nightmares. But like this is a situation that was out of his control, which we have never really seen Hannibal in. So it would make sense that he would have some sort of lingering like PTSD about this, about all of this. And I think that's something that this episode accomplishes very much is the Will's action in the previous episode forces Hannibal to change almost like his entire like game that he's been playing with the FBI.
Yes.
And maybe that is causing him some sort of, PTSD or nightmares or whatever you want to call it, that he still feels that noose around his neck.
Figuratively, when you say the noose around his neck is tightening, it's also like there's some stuff that's happening and he's feeling more and more like a caged animal, right? And right now the suspicions are also growing more and more towards him, right? Like Jack, he can tell that Jack is like suspicious. He can tell that like Chilton is suspicious. Like there's all of the and there's Gideon that's there, right? So there's a lot of things that are kind of like against him, and I think that like maybe the PTSD, like the dreams that he's having or the nightmares that he's having about like being literally hung are also like the like a representation of how he's feeling right now, of maybe the possibility of him either losing his life or losing his freedom. And that must be even more terrifying to him than whatever ordeal he went through, I think.
I think you're right. Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious if this is truthful or not, whether or not he's actually having nightmares or not, or if this is just a way to talk to Alana about Will. And Alana warns him. He's like, she says, don't do what I do, which is self-diagnose. And she talks about like, kind of running away from her feelings and not ever actually dealing with them. And like tells him like, hey, we need to we need to figure out a way for you to deal with your emotions somehow.
I just love that Alana had zero interest in Hannibal when he was like a well-adjusted man, a seemingly well-adjusted man. And now that he talks about having nightmares, she's like, oh, honey, it's okay. I got you. She has a thing for broken men. Oh my God. Alana's like, I can fix them.
I can fix him.
I can fix him. It's okay. I'll fix him. But it's just so interesting to me that like not too long ago, like she was holding hands with Will in prison, and now she's like flirting with Hannibal. Like, even though like in the past she had always kind of like dodged his flirting with her. I mean, I see this as her, well, for one, liking broken men, but also like looking for comfort, like I think that, this is what's actually going to drive a lot of her decisions in this episode. Like she needs a rebound, right? And I don't think she's the only one in that situation right now.
Yeah, they talk about that later when they talk about the funeral sex, right? Like they're both looking for a way to bounce back from their Will's betrayal, even though that betrayal is completely different from one to the next. Like it's still a betrayal from the same person.
Yeah, exactly.
And he tells her he's dealing with all of this by composing new music, and talks about how one of the great composers said that a true composer thinks of his unfinished work all the time. And it's really easy to think of like, oh, he's talking about his harpsichord music, but also like the compositions that he makes are somewhat different in some cases.
Well, so there you go. So that's like on first watch, I didn't really pick up on that. And then on this, when I rewatched it, I was like, oh my God, when he's talking about the work, he's not talking about music. Right? Like, I think like to really lay it out, like I think that the music composition here is a metaphor for Hannibal's like murdering / mise en scène / like his murder work, right? Like his murder work. So the work isn't so much like the music as it is like the story that he is literally composing that involves Jack and Miriam at the bottom of the soup dish, right? Like
we've seen him like opera. And we've seen him like, obviously he has an affinity towards music and stringed instruments that tell a story. Like we saw him literally like cry at an opera before because of how powerful the storytelling, how powerful the music was. So like it makes sense to me that we start getting even to the next scene, right? As we watch him like write notes down and it turns into flowers from his killing, right? Like one composition blurs into the other. Like it's obviously the same kind of thing, which I think is where a lot of these like transitions come from, is that idea of linking his creative output together. Like it's not, he's not just playing the harpsichord because he's like a weirdly talented dude. Like to him, to him, this music is the story of his life, right? Like he's telling that story, even if nobody will ever understand the specifics. Which I find fascinating, especially because a lot of the harpsichord in this was original compositions by by Brian Rozelle, who did like all of the soundtrack work on this show. There's some stuff that's like pre-recorded or like known, but most of the stuff that Hannibal is playing that we see him like composing is an original composition on the harpsichord, which is kind of fascinating to me.
Wow, that's so cool. But that's the thing. I think like knowing how alone he is and knowing the grand design of the story, I think that's also why. And that's the thing. Like you can't. When you're first watching, I don't think that it's possible, or at least it wasn't for me. I don't want to speak for everybody, but for me, it really wasn't possible to understand why Will was so important to him. But now I'm starting to really get it because I'm seeing how alone he is in everything,
Yes,
right? And to know that there's this one other person who's able to see him, right? I think it would make everybody like want to go for a swim and eat a lot of seafood, right? Like I get it, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like yearning after that one person, right? Of finding that one person that sees you for who you are, even if they don't accept you, like, but still trying to figure out how to get that acceptance from the one person.
Yeah.
Hannibal here ends this conversation by saying, I need to get my appetite back. And we go right back to his Rolodex. And we see him start to pull out business cards, and we get this incredible transition from like business cards and meat to like this flower, these different flowers. And as the camera zooms back, we realize we see another murder composition that the Ripper has done. There's a man who has been basically like intertwined with the tree, like the roots and the stems of the tree have been like put inside his veins in like a really medical way, as we're going to learn from Z later. Yeah. But it's basically like a tree sprouting from a parking lot with this man like literally like intertwined with the tree, and this huge, almost buffet of flowers, if you will, coming out of his abdomen.
It's honestly really gorgeous.
It's really beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. Like all of this stuff is great. They talk about how the vines are like littered through his like toes and fingers, and like the amount of effort this would have taken.
And I was thinking about your comment about Hannibal being portrayed as a supervillain, but again, like the time that this must have taken.
Yes, absolutely. And Jack even comments on that. Like he comments that the Ripper like takes pride in his work.
Yes.
And Jack starts identifying flowers. And I don't remember all of the names. I didn't write them down, but they share a common theme. All of them are poisonous or toxic somehow. Yeah. So he's literally saying like, and Jack is getting it. Like this is this is like a Will moment for Jack, I think, almost, where he looks at this and he understands that the Ripper is saying that this man was toxic, and he says he's so damn certain it makes me sick. Like he absolutely knows, having seen the Ripper's kills and begun to have this understanding that the Ripper is going to be right somehow about this dude, and it makes him sick about it.
Yes, I love that. It's actually really nice to see Jack profiling without anybody else, right?
Yes.
Like it's like I yearn to see Jack being like proficient at his work, like being good at what he does, because it's like you don't get to where you are as a black man in the FBI without being good at what you do, without being extremely 100%. Good at what you do. Like I like let's be clear. And so it would be like, I just love when we see him be good at what he does.
It's like when he remembers how to FBI is great.
Yes, exactly. There you go. Oh, Jack.
Later that night, Jack and Hannibal share a drink in front of the fire, as they are wont to do. And of course, they're discussing Will. And Hannibal says, as much as he wants to, he can't help Will. He can't trust him anymore. He describes Will being in a dark place where the shadows move. And Jack takes this opportunity to bring up, like, oh, hey, we found another body of the Ripper. And Hannibal completely shuts this down and says, like, if I have to let Will go, I have to let all of this go. He says, I would have died if it wasn't for you. You rescued me. And we need to both transform our misfortunes into something better. And then tells Jack, I'm going to start by hosting a dinner party. And like Jack's face on this is he like, Lawrence Fishburne is such a good actor. Like you could just tell he's amazing. Like, I wouldn't miss it. Like he's so excited, but at the same time, he's like, oh my God, this is exactly what Will told me would happen.
But okay, so we know. Jeremy, this is really hard because we know that Hannibal knows that Jack knows, right? Like he knows, we know kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And I feel like Jack needs to learn about subtlety a little bit, because Jack is trying to do the subterfuge on Hannibal, but Hannibal is actually one-upping it, as we will find out. And like, we're always told these stories about cops tricking people. And I'm just like, Jack, can you just be better at this?
It's interesting because like, I'm curious what Hannibal thinks that Jack knows. Like because at this point in the story, throughout season 2, we've seen Jack doubt the fact that Will has done this, and we've seen him like almost like start believing that 100% that Will did these crimes.
Right.
And I think this is one of the moments that starts the kind of fall that we'll get to towards throughout this episode of Jack coming to believe that Will is innocent, right? Like this is the first, like not the first, but this is a step in that. And him saying, like, him confirming basically, I'm going to have a dinner party after Will says this. He gets so greedy. Like you could just see the greed in his face of like, oh, I'm going to catch somebody. I'm going to get him. And I have to imagine that Hannibal picks up on this, like Hannibal being the person reader that he is. So yeah,
of course he does. And I, again, the fact that he's composing his music, his work, right? You just know that he is writing this story to lead Jack down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Like
down to a literal hole. Like at the end of this episode, he's literally going down a rabbit hole. Maybe not a rabbit. He's going to a literal hole in the ground.
To a Miriam hole.
A Miriam hole. Oh my God. That's so bad. Poor Miriam.
I know. Oh my God. It makes me sick. It makes me feel sick. Anyway, we'll talk about that later.
We cut back over to the hospital where Will and Gideon are now talking to one another through the walls. This is a weirdly cut scene where like the two, so we get them like kind of opposite of each other, like with their backs against the walls, facing the other way, but still conversing through the walls at each other. And it like the scenes like kind of pushed together from the outside inwards. And it's almost like they wanted to create like the illusion of space in this because they have like a rat that runs down in the middle of the two walls, which I just find like very cartoonish somehow. Like, I don't know. It's just a weird moment in the editing that that sticks out to me. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I find it's interesting. Like there's this moment of cartoonish is but like again, like evil supervillain kind of thing, right? Like this I find that it kind of leans into that a little bit, and I kind of love that actually. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, I'm here for it.
And as they talk, Will points out that Gideon is definitely not safe here. That the moment that Will asked for him to be next to him in the cell, he was stamped with an expiration date, which of course is a great food metaphor for what we're doing. And he describes again, he uses Gideon's words back at him as Gideon's like, no, I'm safe in here. He says, no, remember, he's the devil. Like he's smoke. And he also talks about how nervous Chilton should be because obviously Chilton has been like listening to all these conversations, and he's beginning to believe Will as well. And we cut to Chilton literally listening to this conversation. Again, like what your comment last time of just like what sort of kink is this, Chilton? Like, why are you doing this to yourself?
I love. Oh, okay. So, well, people can laugh at me, but I had no idea who this actor was. Because I'm not a musical theater person, and I looked him up. And it turns out that this is somebody who is very well known.
Oh, really?
I'm like, oh, yes. Apparently he was like one of the leading men on Broadway and off Broadway in the early 2000s. And he's won a bunch of awards for musical theater work.
Man, people get between this and me not knowing like that Jimmy was in the show that the Kids in the Hall, and like we're just so bad at this. Apparently,
we are really bad at this.
We're just
I love
so
this.
Bad.
People keep writing us on like excellent podcast, and we're like, oh, did you know? Did you know that this guy has like won a bunch of Tony Awards?
I'm not surprised because he's. Everything I've ever seen him in, he's been amazing. Like he just has impeccable performance, energy. But
well, so there you go. I find that like knowing that, I'm like, oh, that's why he impersonates him the way that he does. Like as an actor, the way that he like inhabits the role is so physical, and I'm like, of course, I see it. I see it now.
Gideon continues talking to Will, saying that, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to tell Jack about, Hannibal's purple walls with Lita and the swan on the wall as you were having a fit? Basically, like providing all of these details that Gideon should not have if he's never met Hannibal Lecter before. And Will is just like, yes, that is exactly what I want you to tell.
Tell him that. Tell him exactly that.
And Gideon says, like, I'll do that if you tell me why Hannibal did this. Like, why did he set all of this up? Why did he send me after Alana? Why did he, try to, do all of these things. And Will just has this moment as he leans back against the wall, and you can tell it's hard for him to come to this. And I think as a professional profiler, it's very difficult I would imagine that it is very difficult to deal with somebody that has no discernible motive in doing these things. Right. And it's distressing to him when he leans back and says, because he wanted to see what would happen. And you and I have discussed this a lot, right? Of why Hannibal does the things that he does. And a lot of times it's just I'm just going to knock it down to see it break, right? I want to see what's going to happen. And this is definitely one of those times. I think he didn't know what would happen. So he just sent 2 killers after people to see what would the outcome would be.
That's very cat-like behavior.
You just picturing Hannibal knocking over a cup of water off the
exactly
just tapping it with his hand just a couple of times, pop, and knocking it off.
So I have a question. What kind of cat would Hannibal be? So we're gonna let people answer that to us and send us gifs and pictures of cats.
Comment on Spotify.
Various social media.
I would. My instinct is to say a black cat, but also orange cats have such weird chaotic energy that I don't know. So get at us, everybody. Let us know what you think.
He would have to be some kind of exotic cat to me, I think, right? Some kind of weird cat that you don't see all the time, kind of thing.
As long as he's not one of those weird hairless cats. I feel that those things disturb me so much.
I love them so much.
Oh my God. I can't even stand I've never been in the same room with one, but I would just leave the room immediately. The cat, I would just let the cat have the house, whatever.
That would be the cat's plan, to be honest.
Probably
with
so.
you.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So when I was watching this scene, I completely forgot to take notes. I'm not going to lie, because I just rewatched it because it's so good, right? It's very you just hang on their lips, because of the words that they're saying and how they're saying it. And these 2 characters, these 2 actors, they're so, everything about it is so good. What I find to be of note here is that these 2 men have showed recently, at least for one of them, a bit of an interest for manipulation, right? And they know that they're being recorded. They're choosing their words very carefully, right? They're choosing to say exactly what they're saying. And this is not a 2-person conversation, as we saw, right? Chilton is an active participant. He is not only listening, but a lot of what's being said is being said for his benefit or for him, because Will is specifically saying that Chilton is in danger. And the point of that is to scare Chilton into taking some kind of action. And Gideon also gives the super accurate description of Hannibal's living room, right? As we talked about, which immediately tells Chilton that Gideon is telling the truth. And so is Will. So the whole point of this conversation was to let Chilton know that they're telling the truth. For a very specific reason, right? For 2 individual manipulative reasons, which I think is why our theme of subterfuge works so well. Again, Will just openly talking about this, Gideon openly talking about this, but as you mentioned, they're not just conversing for one another. They're putting on this performance of a conversation in order to convince somebody to do something else, while also telling the truth at the same time, realizing that the truth is going to be what powers through this situation. And it works. I think that's the big thing, right? Oh, yeah.
Chilton immediately takes this tape to Jack's office, and Jack is kind of unbelieving at first. He says Gideon is a lunatic, and Chilton points out, I think rightfully, he's a psychotic, he's not psychic. There's no way.
He's not a psychic.
Yeah, there's no way he should know what the inside of Hannibal's room is. And Jack is well, he could have heard that from Will. And he's absolutely not. I've been listening to every single thing that they say, which is if I was Jack at this moment, I'd be Chilton, really? What do you do? How much time does that take?
How much time do you
at least have somebody transcribe it so you can read it. What are you doing?
The amount of time that all of these characters have is just unbelievable, right?
It's insane. Yeah, absolutely.
And this is where Chilton says something about being lucky not to be able to digest animal protein, because the last few meals that he's had at Hannibal's house have been salads. And I'm just you've got jokes, man.
Yeah.
For somebody who is so in danger, you've got jokes. And I'm that I respect that.
Jack points out, and I love this moment, that Jack points out that Will is delusional. That he could be using this to manipulate them all into believing what he wants them to believe, which is, besides the delusional part, accurate. Like that's exactly what Will is doing. And I love that Chilton points out that doesn't mean that he's wrong. And I love that so much.
There is so much in this episode that like the characters are right about something, but also wrong. And I think that plays really into the theme of subterfuge, because like, yes, you got it, but no, you've been deceived about that. So like here, Jack has been deceived about the delusional, but he is right about the fact that he wants to use everybody to convince Jack that Hannibal is killing.
100%.
Right. And I think that this is what Chilton is pointing out, that like the truth is not actually that easy to find within a sea of lies.
And, you know, Jack points out like, hey, you know what Will is accusing Hannibal of? And, you know, Chilton, of course, is like, yeah, he once served me tongue and joked about eating mine. Like, at this point, Chilton is kind of all on board with believing that Hannibal is capable of doing this. And he's in so much danger. Like, I know. Like, him and Alana are it's so risky right now. Like, I just want to protect the both of them. And
I love the way he says that, too. Like, it would be narrow not to at least consider it.
I like that narrow line a lot. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
I thought that was such a good line, because you're like, yes, actually, Chilton, you're right. And it's so funny because I hated Chilton so much. And now this episode has turned me around on him so much. I'm like, I love this man. You must protect this man at all costs.
Chilton says that Hannibal does fit the profile. He talks about like the interest in medicine and interest in police work, things like that. And then he talks about, he says the line, cannibalism is an act of dominance. And Jack's face here, he's just like, am I really like, is this really my life? Like, I feel poor Jack has been through so much over the course of a season and a half of television, like between his wife and Will and these crimes and the Ripper and Miriam, like, and it's going to get a lot worse before like Beverly, like it's just, now he's just like, so the dude that I hang out with every night and like drink scotch with is a fucking cannibal. Like, is that what you're telling me?
He's
like
given me the best meals of my life.
Right?
I actually ate human.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, like I had to pause in that moment to be able to kind of take some notes, and like his face there, you're right. Like, and like, honestly, I think that screenshot should be a meme. Like, how is it not a meme?
Right.
You know, like it's because he's just like,
it's because the show is a decade old at this point.
Yes, I guess so.
The reason why it's the reason we don't see it come up all the time is because it's 10 years old.
Probably. Well, I'm going to use it.
I took a picture of, I need to send this to you actually. We've been watching Ted Lasso. We never watched the last season. And I have like severe issues with that show that I need to make a whole rant about on a podcast one day. But I took a picture of, there's a guy that's like, I don't want to spend a lot of time. Anyway, he has a very self-satisfied, like smug look on his face. And I took a picture because we just happened to pause it right there to go like do something with the food or something. And I looked at the dude's face and I was like, this is exactly Hannibal, like eating Beverly. Like this is that moment of like where he had that smug little smile on his face. Like, except it's some like, you know, teenage British kid. And I'm like, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know why I'm talking about this. I'll move on. But, we cut over to Hannibal, who is working on his harpsichord piece, and as he's beginning to like actually write the notes down, again it transitions into the body that he, composed, I guess, for lack of a better word, as our ERT group is like cutting the branches off, and we find out that sure enough, like this dude is kind of toxic. This was a politician, a city council member, who kind of led the, I guess, effort to install this parking area over what was a bird's nest, like a bird sanctuary for like these specific songbirds. You know, Jack says the classic line, he paid paradise to put up a parking lot. And we learned that it's songbirds, which I think is kind of interesting with Hannibal.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, it's so interesting that we're bringing up birds again after the hawk conversation from last episode, right? Especially in this case, like songbirds, with Hannibal composing wink wink music, wink wink, you know, like it's just, yeah,
wink wink wink
wink wink wink wink wink wink wink music, wink wink.
We're gonna do
nudge nudge.
We're gonna do some science. They find that this dude was in I think he was like standing in water for several days to water the tree. And there's some like bugs in the tree that are like traced down to like a 50-mile radius of some part of Virginia. Which, whatever. Okay, sure. Let's do it. I'm into it.
Yeah, sure. And it again, there's another, this is what I was talking earlier about, like how it's weird to see them get it right when they get it wrong so often, right? Like, so now they're doing this kind of analysis, but they didn't even take a stool sample from Will after he was accused of cannibalism, right?
Even
like,
though they wanted to at some point.
Oh my God. So there you go. So it's just kind of like, I think to me, that's more bothersome than the fact that like the science really doesn't work sometimes. Like I'm okay with the science not working, like that's fine. But the fact that like, the level of effort that's being put into this, like to me, kind of breaks a little bit of the disbelief.
Sure,
you know,
the suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, there you go.
I also, just to kind of comment on this from the perspective of someone who read the books quite a bit. Like the books leaned on a lot of forensic science. Like you could tell that Thomas Harris was really, really intrigued by this whole idea of tracking people down and doing like methodical research.
Right.
So there's in this TV show, it's played much more like almost like mystical realism, right? Like Will's abilities and Hannibal's abilities are very mystical realism to me. And in the books, like I think I've mentioned this to you before, like Beverly's specialty was, I think, fingerprints, or pulling like fabrics. It was a fabric person, like pulling individual like pieces off of clothing or whatever substance that they found at a crime scene. That was Beverly's whole gig. Like she didn't go out with a gun and hang out with anybody else.
Yeah.
Like it was a much more focused on that stuff. And I think like that brought a level of realism to it. I don't actually need that from this show at all. Like I'd much prefer the mystical realism part of it. But it is some when they do the science and they actually like do some science and they say like it's from this specific place, you realize like y'all could probably be doing a lot better about this. Like
Yes, I think that to me, it's like the difference between the two, right? Like either one or the other, I don't mind. I can be on board with both. But the fact that you're doing one and then the other, I find to be disruptive to the storytelling. But it's such a small criticism for this.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. It's something that comes up, I think. And I think it's something that will go away eventually. Because again, I think this is more of a... I mentioned this is more of a transitionary episode for a lot of reasons, but in my mind, this is the episode where some of that stuff like starts to recede quite a bit, and like it's much more focused on the relationships, which is what I'm here for. So, and
this is also written by a whole different person, right? Yes. Like the story was thought up by somebody completely different from the episodes that we've seen in the past. So it makes sense that it's a little bit different in their approach to forensics. So I'm just trying not to think about it too much, but it's hard not to.
So we're going to cut from here to Jack and Alana walking through the woods with Will's dogs and discussing, their situation, basically. She describes Hannibal as like a close personal friend, a mentor, and a colleague. She just says that, she's known him before any of this, before she met Will, before she met Jack, before any of this started. And she describes Will as lying and playing a game, manipulating people, and says that's what makes him dangerous. And she's not wrong about that whatsoever.
She is so right, actually. And again, she's so right about Will, but for the wrong reasons. Like she's, well, I mean, poor Alana. Alana feels like a willing victim of this Hannibal subterfuge, right? Like it's so, I feel so much for her. I feel so bad. I feel like all of those things because she's, anyway, like, but yeah, she's very right about Will, but very wrong also. And it's just kind of impressive how right and wrong she can be at the same time.
It's really, I mean, that's what Hannibal does to you. He really, this is all Hannibal's fault. Like if you think about it, like all of these characters who are so close to the truth. And Gideon just has a line towards Jack later where he says, you're in the right box. You're just looking in the wrong corner, right? I think that's maybe kind of underlines our theme for the whole episode. Is just people who are so close to the truth and almost responding to the way they would to the truth, but it's not responding to all of the truth. And it's kind of fascinating. But
I think that's how, and like we talk about Hannibal specifically, but really, like I think we can kind of draw parallels with real life with, those people who are very, very good at manipulating systems and people and information. That's what they do, right? They place a foundation of truths and half-truths so that when they start telling lies, they feel like truth, right? And so they're never fully lying, but they're also never fully telling the truth so that the people who are getting caught up in it, in that web of lies, basically, are like, yes, but that was true. So there was a foundation of truth. So like, yeah, it's a very skilled social subterfuge, social manipulation that we're seeing here from Hannibal.
Social hacking.
Social. Oh my god!
So
I hate that word almost as much as co-opetition.
From here we go back to Will and his tiny little crate, and the music. To me, this is what Will is hearing in his head. Like we hear these discordant tones. We hear the static as he like holds his head in his hand, and like antlers sprout from the back of his body and his head. It's even going like up through the crate and across like the room in some cases. And he's like literally feeling this, like he's inhabiting this. And as he wakes up, he kind of looks up and he realizes Hannibal is there. And because he doesn't actually look up, like I wonder if he like smells Hannibal in some way. Right? Like I had that thought of like, what would Hannibal wear? Like if he's in a surprise visit, like what cologne would he put on to make Will realize that it's him like 5 steps before he gets there? Like would he pause and like let the scent waft in front of him to see if Will will pick up on it? I don't know why I'm writing fan fiction right now. I'm sorry. Like, I'll just do this later. I'll do this on my own time. I don't need to do this on the podcast.
I think something earthy, just to kind of fuck with Will with the whole like tree thing. Yeah, something earthy. I think he would wear.
You mentioned earlier that you had a difficult time taking notes during the Gideon and Will conversation.
Yeah.
This conversation is so fucking electric and revealing and impossible to deal with that I fortunately, like when Autumn and I watched the episode together, and then I watched it a second time generally to make notes. She wasn't really here for me making notes, and I'm glad because she would have probably been like, why are you pausing it every 10 seconds so you can type? And like, I feel like I didn't even get into like everything in my notes that I wanted to get into. But just the way that this conversation starts as they look at each other and, you know, again, this is 2 manipulators. This is 2 poker players looking across the table at each other and wondering which of the other one is bluffing versus like what cards they're holding, knowing information because they know what's in the deck. Like I'm using poker metaphor a lot, but I think it works. But like
it works really well.
Like just 2 manipulators who are facing off with each other, right? It's just the whole conversation. This whole scene is just brilliant to me. Without even getting to the specifics of like the dialogue, which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I fully agree. Like it's. I just kind of want to come back to the antlers for a second, just because like I feel because I think that it's also representative of what's about to happen, right? Because in the past, whenever Will and Hannibal were having a conversation, it was a lot of Hannibal with the double entendres, and Will just like not really getting it. But here they are on equal footing, right? Intellectually, at least on equal footing. And I think that is in part because of the antlers that we see grow on Will, right? With my habit of associating Taylor Swift songs to episode, this episode, this moment really reminded me of the song Ivy, where there's a line that goes, "My house of stone, your ivy grows, and now I'm covered in you." And it's like, this is exactly what's happening to Will. Like, the antlers of Hannibal are literally growing on him as part of him, inside of him. And it's like, it's very, very hot. I love it.
Also, like, just the idea that because as I mentioned earlier, Will has that line in the early in season 2 where he's replaced his internal dialogue voice with Hannibal's voice. So now, putting aside the kind of double entendre for being inside of somebody or outside of somebody, but like now not only is Hannibal like inside of him, inside his mind, right? Like now it's expressing forth physically, it's manifesting physically outside of him as he again becomes more like Hannibal, right? Like as he has like maybe just fudged his morals a little bit for a good reason, but like he's becoming more and more like Hannibal. This is intense.
So intense.
Hannibal describes watching their friendship on a split screen with what he thought their friendship was on one side and what the truth was on the other. And I love that Will just agrees and is like, it's a terrible feeling, isn't it? Like, he's like, yes, I've also been doing this. Like, and it's just a moment of almost camaraderie, I guess. Like, but like also at the same time, like super insulting to the other person. Like, I love it. How do you make this combination happen so well?
Yeah, they're very good at that.
And they keep going. Hannibal basically tells Will that he's responsible for Beverly Katz's death, saying he should recognize his role. And Will's like, what was exactly my role in this? And Hannibal says, she died at your behest. And says that Will is probably angry at himself as much as he's angry at the person who killed Beverly. And Will corrects this and says, actually, I'm singularly angry with whomever murdered her. And it's interesting that he talks about this without Will. Hugh Dancy does such a good job playing Will. Like it's that like bubbling under the surface emotion that he does so well. And he's doing that here. Like he's not angry, and he's not even like biting off his words, but you could tell like he's having to restrain himself so much from like literally pulling the bars away and like attacking this man. Yeah.
I'm actually really glad that we talked last week, I think it was, about Will's responsibility or lack thereof in Beverly's death, because like we don't have to rediscuss it. But I really do not think that he is responsible for her death. But the fact that Hannibal is trying to get him to think that, because he knows that Will feels guilty no matter what, I think says a lot more about Hannibal than it does about Will, to use Alana's words from later. I also think that it is super important to note that even though Hannibal played it up to Alana about having like his heart skewered, right, by Will having someone try to murder him, he's coming to Will in this moment, and his one complaint to him is not like, you tried to have your new boyfriend murder me. It's, you sicked Beverly Katz on me. Like, Hannibal is telling one story to most people, right? Like, he's putting the meat, like the meat suit. That's supernatural. But like the person suit, I'm like, oops, wrong franchise.
Wrong TV show.
Wrong show. Although meat suit does work with Hannibal too, but for a whole
different reason. Yeah. We haven't actually seen that episode yet, so just. So
Hannibal is telling one story. He's putting on one mask for most people, but then he's telling a much more truthful story to Will. And Will is now in a headspace where he can understand it, right? Like, Hannibal is not really mad about the attempted murder thing, right? Like, I do genuinely think that to him, it's like roses and chocolates before a date or something. But I think that he really is mad that Will sent the cops to his house. Like, that is the betrayal. That's the painful part for him.
Yeah, we can play murder games, but don't get the cops involved. Like, don't
exactly.
Don't be a rat.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's play the murder games. And also, like, I want to just like remember that Hannibal did this exact same thing to Will first, right? Like, he sent a killer after Will by proxy, and not knowing what the outcome would be. So the fact that Will is now doing that, again, Hannibal's efforts to transform Will in some way, and Will obviously like sacrificing a little bit of himself and becoming more like Hannibal, and not and trying to do it for good reason. But like, Hannibal looks at this and going like, I'm winning. Right? Like, this is, you're in jail and you're trying to chase me, but at the same time, you're sending killers after me, which is something you wouldn't have done when I met you. Like, I made you do that. I have changed you in some way. And he even says, like, you found a way to hurt me. Right. Like, I think that's really important, because I think it's very, very truthful. Even though, like, we talk about, subterfuge in this episode where he says, you found a way to hurt me. I don't even know if Will understands what he means by that at this point. Like, I think Hannibal is being very truthful here. And it's also combined with the threat, which is a distraction. So, which is a classic Hannibal move that Alana didn't point out. Alana pointed out the flirtatious changing the subject. But this is very much like, tell a truth, tell a threat. and to people focus on the threat more, where he says, you found a way to hurt me. I wonder how many more people you are going to get hurt by what you do. I'll give Alana Bloom your best. And you're like, what? Excuse me? You better not hurt my girl. You better not.
There's also like a really bad joke to be made here, but I'm not going to make it, but it's there.
I'm dying to know what you mean by this. I have no idea what I don't even like. I have the filthiest mind I could possibly have at my age, and I'm dying to know what you could possibly mean. I'll even beep it out if you want to say it and have me beep it out and have people guess. I do not mind. But what is the joke?
Oh my God. Well, he did give it to her, is what I'm saying. That's all.
Oh, gotcha. He did give Alana Bloom his best. Okay, yes. Now I'm here. Okay, that's it. Okay, we got there. Yeah, this entire conversation just crackles with so much energy. It's very much it's very much flirtation. Like, I don't think you can even ignore like the flirtatious vibes of this.
It is absolutely flirtation, right? Like, and I think that's kind of what it comes down to for me. That's why I think what we see happening between Hannibal and Alana later, like, I hate all of it, but also I understand why it's happening. That's the reason why. Right? Like it's the twisted sexual games that we were talking about, yes. Right? It's the using other people in their twisted sexual game. And I think that this is, it's coming to a head here.
Yeah. It's time for the dinner party. So we get a good old fashioned cooking and killing montage. We don't actually see him kill anybody, but we do see him like bringing out business cards of people, which kind of implies that he's going to kill people. Yes. And the harpsichord is back, although this is not an original composition. This is like just a very Baroque kind of waltzy kind of thing. Very, very fancy for what he's doing. And we see like, all of this food being made and prepared and all these tiny little dishes. And we see, white glove servers laying out stuff on the table as we see like people. Do people show up yet? People don't show up just yet. No, we get not that yet. But we see all of this food being laid out, and it looks so delicious.
I am so upset to say that the food looks amazing.
It's okay. Like, this is good food. This is just food. You can say that. This is not people.
But do we know really for sure?
We do. Like, they test it. Like, they test it.
I know. We don't know. Okay, yes, it's true.
You can not feel guilty about wanting to eat the weird like chicken foot thing that Chilton has later. Like, I would definitely eat that. This looks
his face when he looks at that chicken
so
foot.
Hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious.
I love that they kind of let him be that way in season 2. Like, they let him be a little silly. And I feel like the character works so much better like that. Right?
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Giving him more screen time too, just like more stuff to do on the screen, I think helps a lot. The classic Sam Winchester problem to keep bringing up in Supernatural.
Although Chilton gets more like interesting storylines than Sam Winchester near the end. I don't know.
Dude, and just wait. Absolutely he does.
Oh no. I'm so scared, Jeremy. I don't want to do this anymore. What is happening?
Man, I cannot. Okay. How fast can we finish a podcast?
I mean, this is recording 2 this week.
This is true. Yeah, because we did Sunday and we're doing Friday. Absolutely. Yeah. We see a brief spot of Jack kind of looking at bodies coming into the lab. I think it's not specifically expressed, but like he realizes the Ripper is ripping while Hannibal is planning his dinner party. I think that's what the scene is supposed to tell us. And then we go to the hospital where Gideon is being walked back to his cell and he sees Chilton. And we get the idea that this is like presumably for the first time that he's seen Gideon since he got transferred back to this place, because he starts kind of making fun of Gideon's first time seeing Chilton. He starts making fun of Chilton, asking like, about the wounds that he did. Like, is everything is everything there where I found it, kind of thing.
Yes.
And Chilton is really dismissive of this, kind of very snooty and very condescending. But he does say like that the nurse that he killed was extremely popular. Even if he knows like he isn't the most popular administrator, like people really like that nurse. Which is just a weird line until you realize what's about to happen.
Exactly. Like he kind of makes this very thinly veiled threat about how grief and trauma bring people together. And I'm like, oh, okay. So if if Gideon doesn't say what Chilton wants him to say, then he's going to let the guards do what they want to him. Gotcha. You know, like super unethical, but also like ballsy from Chilton. Like we haven't seen that kind of stuff from him yet, you know?
And again, this is, I think this plays into our theme very, very well of him saying truthful things with the intention of manipulating and with the intention of provoking a reaction. And also Jack is here to see him. So Chilton has convinced Jack to at least interview Gideon to find out what he knows about Hannibal Lecter. And Gideon lies throughout the entire thing. He says he's never been to Hannibal's home. He got all the details from Chilton, that Chilton like forced him to say these things. And that Chilton has been encouraging Gideon to say that Hannibal is a killer, just like Will. And there's an exchange here where Jack says, why would he do that? And Chilton in the background goes, yes, why would he do that? And such a fucking flat tone that I love so much. And he's just like, yes, why would I? Like, this doesn't make any fucking sense, Gideon. What are you doing?
I just love that when it comes down to it, Gideon will never miss a single opportunity to fuck with Chilton.
Yes.
Like, you know, like no matter what happens, he will find a way to fuck with him. Like we know he was there. Will knows he was there. Chilton knows he was there. There's a recording of him saying that he was there. But when it counts, he's like, nah, I wasn't there.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's just and not only that, like I was made it up. So like the stuff that you heard was what Chilton told me to say. Like just making him the fall guy for all of this is absolutely hilarious.
I love that so much. I'm just like, I love Gideon. I love Gideon so much.
Because Gideon's like presumably still a little bit upset about being psychically driven to believe that he was the Ripper and losing part of his personality and going through all of this horrible mental anguish because of Chilton's treatment. Like
yes. Yes.
It's really, I think it's important to remember that. And I love that characters have motivations outside of like the overarching plot of the show. And it's like Gideon has a legit grief with Chilton. And Chilton did some bad shit, but it kind of matters to the plot, but also it kind of does not matter to the plot whatsoever.
Exactly.
So.
And that's the thing too, right? Again, in real life, Gideon would have never been allowed to go back to that hospital.
No, yeah, absolutely
not.
Like, yeah, none of this would have been.
No way.
There's even he even makes a comment about like because Chilton calls him psychotic, I think, or psychopath, and Gideon's like no legit. Analyst has actually used that phrase since 1973 or whatever. Like just constantly trying to demean and demoralize Chilton is just very funny to me.
I think that, you know, Gideon, with the limited, like, structural power that he has, which is basically non-existent, right, as an incarcerated person, he's just still devoting so much energy to trying to fuck with Chilton again.
Just to mess with him a little bit. Like, it's not going to mean anything in the long run. Like, it doesn't, like, Jack just leaves, right? He's like, okay, well, I'm done with this. As Jack leaves, Gideon points out that Chilton hired a nurse who had experienced nursing, but not experienced around like psychotic patients, right? And says that, you know, Jack should look into that. You've got the right box here, Jack, but you're looking in the wrong corner. Again, implying that like Chilton is guilty of something, even that he's actually not. Like, but it's interesting that he's trying to put that idea in Jack's mind, even though it doesn't really matter a whole lot.
Well, so there you go. That, like, I didn't really get that line because I'm like, I feel like I don't have sufficient information to really get what he's trying to say. And I figured, like, oh, whatever. Like, it's just one of those things where I'm like, whenever I don't really understand a line, it's usually explained later. And so I'm like, okay, I'll just either figure it out later, or it wasn't that important, or he's just trying to fuck with Chilton.
Yes, again, maybe just that. Yeah. They lead Gideon back to his cell, and on the way, he's talking a lot of shit. He's talking about how the nurse was he says a good time gal. Yeah. And they eventually just take the bait and start beating the shit out of him. And there's a really lovely like shot of blood like falling through this grate that's in the ceiling, like into someone's cup of coffee that I just really like for some reason. And then we kind of see this slow-mo shot of them pushing him down the stairs. And this is kind of a classic prison story of like, you fucked with one of the guards, so we're going to punish you, and we're going to make it look like an accident. I don't know really why Gideon was talking shit here. I don't know if he was trying to provoke this somehow, or if he was just being Gideon, like this is just his personality now. It's really confusing, and I kind of think it's just to get Gideon into the spot where he gets into. I think this is kind of just a plot thing more than anything.
So I was also wondering about his motivation. And there's kind of two things. One, I think that Gideon is still like kind of trying to, he's still kind of fascinated with Hannibal, with the Ripper, right? Because of, well, a lot of reasons that are very, very legitimate. And I think that, you know, this whole, like, he was just trying to see what would happen might have just like triggered something in him. And he's like, I just wanted to see what would happen, kind of thing. But the fact that it was made clear to him that this exact thing would happen to him if he didn't tell Jack what Chilton wanted him to hear, and that he even like goaded the guards, like it almost makes me wonder if he was hoping that he would be transferred back to where he came from if something would happen to him.
Oh,
right?
That's a really, yeah, okay, I can see that, yeah.
I mean, this backfires on him spectacularly.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I mean, I can see why he would do it that way. He's like, okay, I need to get out of Dodge, right? Like, it's, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because at this point, he probably is super concerned about Hannibal being in Hannibal's sphere, right?
Yes.
It's got to be, just being in that orbit has got to be kind of terrifying if you actually believe what you have seen.
Yes, definitely.
And now it's time for a dinner party. I'm fascinated with this idea of Hannibal throwing this dinner party. We've seen him socialize at the opera. We've seen him like host several people, like a table of people. This dinner party is like a soiree. Like, people are dressed up. People are like, I can never imagine throwing a dinner party like this in my entire life. Like, I can't, like, I don't think I know 20 people that would get dressed up to come to my house. I don't have a house that you need to get dressed up to go into. Like, this whole thing is so fucking mind boggling to me that I don't even know how to handle it. Like, who are these people? Like, are they his friends? Are they just people he knows from does he socialize? Like, how does he, always see him do is like pine after Will in the dark and drink with Jack. Like, those are his two activities. Like, I don't know where he knows all of these people from, and it doesn't matter. I'm just fascinated with the idea that he's like, I'm going to host a fancy dinner party, and like the hoity-toity socialist crew of fucking Baltimore, Maryland, was like, let's get our little black dresses and our pearls out. Like, we got to go to Hannibal's place. It's crazy to me. It's just fascinating. So anyway,
yeah. No, it's true. But seriously though, like, I fully agree with you, because this is such a change. And I think that plays into the subterfuge of it all, right? Like, because we've seen Hannibal host like table dinner parties, like sit down dinner parties, and that felt like what we knew, but this was different, right? And it was different because the food wasn't the same. So I think maybe that's like a visual way of signifying that there's something different about this. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
And also, like, I mean, you know, opening himself for public scrutiny, right? Like, I guess that could be a situation too of like, and also, and like he tells Alana, like, this is just as well as Jack, like, I'm going to take my troubles and make them into something good. Mm-hmm. So just like kind of opening his house and home to everybody and allowing his friends and acquaintances to come in. Everybody, there's like a lengthy montage of everybody enjoying the food. And Jack kind of arrives in the middle of this and just looks around the room, and it's just thinking, they're just all eating people. Every single person in the room.
Jack is literally going through what we went through in season 1.
Yes.
Like, you know, when we're watching them eat and we're like, ah!
From the very first like time that Hannibal serves Will food, right? Like in that apartment or whatever, in that hotel room. Chilton is there. We talked about this earlier. He picks up one of the little appetizer dishes with the little chicken claw, and it's just like, what in the fuck is this? Like, I'm definitely not going to eat any of this. And he tells Jack, like, you know, they're going to call him Hannibal the Cannibal. Like, you can't, like, that's exactly what they're going to do. And he's like, Jack is just like, please don't name my serial killers before I catch them. I don't need this.
He is just so funny there. Like, I love Chilton in this moment. Like, he is now my little meow meow, and I really don't want him to end up a soup. And if he does end up a soup, I hope that he tastes delicious. And I know that he will, because
Hannibal, unfortunately, Hannibal is good at what he does.
Yes, exactly.
Chilton tells Jack that he's here because of Darwinism, because he, no matter what, does not want Hannibal to suspect him or perceive him as a threat of any kind. So, like, it makes sense that what Chilton would normally do is glom onto these kind of social events, right? Yes. To rub shoulders with people that are his quote unquote betters. So he's doing that. This is when Hannibal notices that Jack came in, and he calls Jack the guest of honor, which is kind of crazy. Like, if he's doing this, like, I wonder if this is like, if he's talking to people like, oh, this is a celebration, like I almost died, so I'm having this party. Like, what a weird, I don't know. Anyway, but he calls Jack the guest of honor. Jack says that he can't stay, but would love to take some food to go, and just like tells these waiters to like, oh no, just box this up. And like, it's so rude and it's so uncouth and it's so awkward because Hannibal's like, let me, I can have them make you a plate. And he's like, oh no, I'm just going to take these right off of this plate right here and like put them in my pocket or something. Like, bring me a plastic container, basically. It's so awkward and obvious, like why you would do this directly in front of Hannibal. And then specifically say twice, like, I have your permission, Hannibal. Like, made me think they were trying to do some kind of legal thing or something, but I don't.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, because I guess you can't take it without. I don't know, man. Like, I feel like you could just take food and test it and say if it's human, like, that's a problem, regardless of how you get the food.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree with you. This is definitely one of those moments where I'm like, Jack, why can't you just be normal? Like, why can't you just be normal, Jack? Basically.
Yes. Why can't you be normal? And he does. He takes this back to the lab and tells, he just hands this to Z and is like, test this food. And both Jimmy and Z are like, what? What are we doing? What is our job again? After the party, everybody has left, and Alana is now at the harpsichord playing chopsticks, and Hannibal comes over, and there's a lot of flirtation, a lot of heavy eye contact, a lot of like, playing the harpsichord together, classic flirtation. I know that's how I got the ladies back in high school, was just like, hey, so did this harpsichord, so we can play harpsichord together.
Did you used to tell them you were in a band?
100%, yeah, Guns N' Roses. Yeah, I play the harpsichord in Guns N' Roses. That's my. So we don't. None of my tracks made the single, so you don't hear them on the radio. But yeah,
right.
There's a version of November
But you're
Rain with
big
the
in
harpsichord
Japan.
that is huge in Japan, huge in Japan. And yeah, this is straight up flirting. And she brings up Jack because she was kind of a witness to everything that Jack was doing, and knows that Jack is starting to suspect him, and accuses him of pointing fingers in the dark. And they talk about having now both walked away from Will. And Alana specifically says she can't forgive Will for what he did for trying to kill Hannibal. And as they talk about like what it means for both of them to walk away, they say, what does walking away from Will leave us? And Hannibal says each other, and then they start smooching, and I do not like it at all. I don't like this smooch at all.
Well, I mean, they finally got the blood pumping, right?
Finally got the blood pumping from our season 1.
I mean, I have been so clear about the fact that I hate this, right? Like, I've hated it since the very first episode when he makes that blood pumping comment. Like, I hate it just as much now, if not more, than back then. But like, I just want us to notice a few things about Alana in this moment. Like, she's, we know that she says she prefers beer to wine, but she's drinking wine. She's dressed all in blue. She usually wears like a sea star necklace, a starfish necklace that she no longer wears in this episode. And so I think that Alana's feelings are very, very contradictory right now. About Will, particularly, like the whole, I really think that sleeping with Hannibal is really all about Will more than anything else. Like,
sure.
And even more so, I think that she needs to read the Lesbian Master Doc, because like, I guess we're clearly not there yet, but like, girl, read the Lesbian Master Doc, honey.
Yeah.
Like,
I bet there's a lot of Beverly fanfic. I can see that being a pretty easy ship.
Yes.
Despite the fact that Beverly is no longer with us. And yeah, we go immediately to the after. I know I come off as kind of a prude sometimes, but like Stephen King does this in his book too, where he's like, they kissed, and then like he just immediately goes to after, like he doesn't describe the sex scene, and I'm just kind of happy that we don't like see the sex scene, right? Like we see them in bed together, but I don't need the full sex scene for this in this show.
It wasn't necessary. It wasn't like, but it's also like there's a lot of stuff that's not necessary and that we still see anyway, right?
Sure,
but I agree. Like that's fine. It's because it's so uncomfortable for us. We hate it so much.
Also that, yeah. I would have I don't want to see Alana enjoying this at all. That's a horrible thing to say. Absolutely horrible.
I don't want to see Hannibal enjoying this.
I don't want to see Hannibal enjoying this.
Oh my God, no.
Don't need to see Hannibal's O face. I don't need to. That's not the thing that I want to see.
No. I mean, I'm okay. You know what? Sorry, heterosexual people who are listening, but I would be totally okay with seeing a sex scene between Hannibal and Will, but not Hannibal and Alana.
You know, it's interesting because I think that what that comes down to because number one, I agree, right? Like I think I'm just going to say that out loud, even as a heterosexual, because I think the chemistry is there. Like the Alana and Will were not a good match to me, and Alana and Hannibal are not a good match to me. So like to see them, like it just doesn't work on the screen. Like they don't have that, whatever that is. But Hannibal and Will absolutely do, right? Like I want to see them smooch.
Yes, I want to see them smooch too.
So we go to after they're lying in bed. Hannibal is awake and he reaches over and he snaps in Alana's ear and she's totally out. And then he gets up and he walks around the side of the bed. He grabs her wine glass and then he wipes the wine glass off, to me, I was like, did he sedate her? Like, the only explanation is that he sedated her in some way.
Yeah. So I honestly, like, that's also what I thought. I was like, oh my God. And to be clear, like, I really don't think that Hannibal is above giving somebody who's sleeping with a sedative to make sure that they stay asleep through the night, especially when he's about to get up and do crime, right? And we have also seen him do something similar to Alana. He basically bashes her head into a brick wall at the Hobbs house in season 1, right? So I just want to say that this is not me protecting Hannibal, because I don't think he's above it. But if you really look at what he's wiping, he's like wiping the part of the glass that her lips touched. He's not like cleaning out the glass with the rest of the wine, which, you know, presumably the sedative would still be, right? He's just wiping where her lips have been. And it kind of made me think of that scene where he kills Tobias and out of habit, he just like grabs the handkerchief to grab the stag statue.
Yes. Yeah.
It kind of made me think like, is this a weird habit thing more than like a anything else? Like, I don't quite know. But again, I do not think that Hannibal is above drugging Alana. If not to have sex with him, then definitely to make sure she stays asleep through the night, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, it's a weird line, and it's a weird way to be protective of a guy that's a serial killer / cannibal. But like at the same time, I'm like, but he probably wouldn't like give her GHB just to have sex with him. Like he's not that kind of dude. It's an extremely weird line to draw in the sand. And I'm well aware that like, and again, like it's a fictional character. Like I'm not. Yes. All of that stuff goes to, but like in my head, like that's where my head went of like, oh, he would definitely kill her and eat her, but he wouldn't drug her to sexually assault her. Like what a weird fucking line to have for a character.
No, but I fully agree with you because it's like, I think that Hannibal would find that like not like more than rude. He would find it like of bad taste to do that, beneath you know?
Him. Yeah, crude.
Yeah, there you go.
More than rude.
Yeah, there you go. He's like, no. Like, I'll make sure she stays asleep while I go out and do crime, but like, if she's gonna sleep with me, she's gonna sleep with me of her own free will, kind of thing. You know, like, it's a weird line to draw. It's a super weird fucking line to draw about a fucking cannibal, dude. Like, what are we doing? What is this podcast making us do? I don't know.
This is also our first time seeing Hannibal's bedroom, and the set dressing here is really fascinating to me. So there's like it's all in dark colors, and it looks entirely too cozy. Like I'm just entirely how much time do you spend in here? And then later we're going to see. I just want to talk about it now because I brought it up. Later we're going to see that like as you leave his room, you see a full suit of like samurai armor, and like. What in the fuck, Hannibal? Like, why do you have this? Like, what is this?
But the weird thing about that is that the camera lingers on it.
It does.
I'm like, what does that mean?
It does.
What does that mean?
We also see there's a window in Hannibal's room, and we see like the moon moving past it as time passes. And then we cut to Gideon, who wakes up in a hospital ward, and here comes Hannibal. He's in full surgical scrubs and a mask. He looks extremely pleased with himself. Hannibal has been having a lot of these like smug faces lately, like when he was eating Beverly's, when he's really doing anything. He just looks super smug, and I'm kind of here for it, to be honest with you.
I think the smugness also comes from the fact that he knows that he's getting to Will somehow, right? So he slept with Alana. He knows that that's going to get to Will. He's getting to Gideon. He knows that's going to get to Will. Like, so he's like, yes. yes, I am getting him back.
And poor Gideon. He just looks like so resigned to his fate. He's just like, well, this is exactly the thing I was trying to avoid. Like, and doesn't have any idea like of how horrible this is going to be for himself. Like he has, let me rephrase. He has an idea of how horrible this is going to be for himself. He just doesn't know the specific horribleness yet, which has got to be a super horrible form of dread. And then we skip to the next day where we see one of the guards that was supposed to be guarding Gideon has been like rigged up above Gideon's bed. Like the Ripper has killed this guard and hung him by fish hooks above Gideon's bed. And Jack points out like the last time that Gideon went missing, he went to find the Ripper, and last night the Ripper found Gideon.
There's just such a roller coaster of emotions in this episode when it comes to Gideon, because like at first I thought that he was dead. A few episodes ago, as I talked about, then I found out that he's not dead. And then I thought that he died from that quote unquote accidental fall. And then he's not dead. But now that Hannibal's got him, he's surely dead, right? Right? Right?
But we just, we find out at the end of this episode that Hannibal is not above like keeping people around for a while if he thinks they're going to be useful in the future, which is super gross and horrible.
Yeah.
We go from the crime scene back to Hannibal's bed, where Alana wakes, staring at Hannibal, and Hannibal is staring at her. And she immediately says, I was just thinking about funerals and how much they make us want sex. And then she kind of tries to pull it back and says, not that this was funeral sex or anything. And Hannibal like kind of shuts her down. It's like, of course this was funeral sex. Like we both just buried Will. And like what a line. Of course this is funeral sex is just, I can't, how do you get away with these lines, Hannibal? How is this possible?
But also, Jeremy, like, I don't know, but if somebody that I just slept with was like, woke up in the morning and was like, so funerals, huh?
Yeah, right?
I'd be like, what?
What are you talking about? It's such a weird thing. She talks about how feeling liberated now that they've let Will go. And I'm like, well, if you're still talking about Will in the bedroom, like you have not let him go. I'm just saying. Like if you genuinely felt liberated, you wouldn't be sitting or laid next to a naked Hannibal talking about a different guy.
Isn't it weird that they only kiss when they talk about Will?
I know, right? It's super strange.
Like...
And Hannibal, I do like this line about Hannibal. It's like, we have a lot of reasons to do this, not just funeral reasons. It's just very funny. Like, basically cementing like the idea of like, I've liked you for a while and you've liked me for a while. And Hannibal, like, not just funeral reasons from Hannibal. No, it's just a very funny line.
Well, it's also like, because again, this is Hannibal saying a truth, but without saying the whole truth. Because like, of course, there's a lot of reasons for them to do this, right? Because they've kind of been circling around it for a while, blah, 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 blah. But also like Hannibal needed an alibi. And he also wanted to annoy and scare Will, right? And yes. So, yeah.
We get a doorbell ring. Hannibal makes a joke about the last person that rang his doorbell was a census taker, which is a reference to obviously I ate his liver with a nice Chianti and fava beans from Silence of the Lambs. But this time it's Jack, and he's there with a lot of accusations about Gideon, asking Hannibal to provide an alibi for last night, asking about his whereabouts, and. Hannibal, before Hannibal can really even say anything, he's like, I was here. And he's like, where, is there anybody that can prove that? Alana walks out in one of Hannibal's shirts, which is very much the obvious, I just slept with this man kind of vibe. And it's like, no, he was here with me all night. And I love Hannibal's face where he's just like, I didn't want anybody to know about this, but here it is kind of thing. And it's just hilarious that he plays the person suit so well. So
he's so good at it. It's really, really, really scary.
And Jack is like, I'm not accusing him of anything. I'm just asking his whereabouts. And Hannibal says, that's not all you're asking. And I just like, if you like, why wouldn't you just look into this? Like, why would you barge into a man's house in the middle of the morning, like, and ask these questions? Like, I just don't get it. Like,
but I think maybe that's how Jack is. Like, I think that, his brazenness in the past has worked really well for him. Like, look at the way that he illegally, might I say, interrogated that child in Earth. Mm-hmm. Look at the way that he has handled other situations, and it has worked for him. But the thing is, like, this will not work with Hannibal. And it's like, he is objectively bad at this because he's not used to the kind of criminal that Hannibal is.
Correct. Yeah. But also, like, if you think that Hannibal is the person that you think that he is, like, if you're starting to believe this, like, why wouldn't you? It doesn't matter. It's
Jeremy,
just,
I'm with you on this.
Yeah,
don't, like, let's be clear. He is bad at this.
Super bad at this. Like, I mean, if you think, like, just the repercussion, like the idea, if you believe even a sliver of what Will is telling you about Hannibal, like the implications of that, of the repercussions of something like that, are so huge, and like just the magnitude of what this person has accomplished, like getting this close to the FBI, accusing one of the FBI star profilers of murder to the point that they had him on trial, and believing that this man had a fractured personality, like all of this stuff. And Jack takes all of that and goes, I'm just going to go ask him.
But do you not think also that maybe this is him self-sabotaging to a certain degree?
Could be, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Because he's like, he doesn't want to believe it. He doesn't, again, like same as with Will, right? He doesn't want to believe that this might be true. And so he's like, maybe if I mess it up, then I'll find the truth. Like, I don't, it's weird, the things that human beings will do when they're in a situation that where they don't want to believe that the bad thing that is happening is actually happening, right? Like,
and we also need to remember that, like, Jack is going through his, like, this stuff with his wife. Like, he's obviously had, like, we talked about it earlier, how his year, he's just lost one of his employees in the most horrific way possible. Like, all of this stuff is in Jack's mind. And so he could be acting, this could be just him, like, losing control a little bit. So maybe that makes more sense and makes it a little bit more believable, and, like, doesn't suspend my disbelief so much if this is literally him just like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to go ask the man. Like, right. Like, he's just like that freaked out about it.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's hoping that he's wrong, really. And that's why he's acting the way that he is.
It's time for another meal preparation, Mary. This time it's a clay roasted thigh.
Okay. I need to say something, because literally, like, I watched this like days before preparing my Christmas prime rib. And I would be lying if I said that while I was preparing meat to be roasted, I was not thinking about that scene.
It's hard not to imagine when you watch stuff like Hannibal, and the food preparation is so beautiful and over the top. But they also show you, like, the actual preparation. So they show you, like, the meat chopping and the slicing and the sausage making and all that stuff, not just the end course dish of what it looks like on the plate. If you cook it all, like, you can get very squeegee about it stuff, right? Like, it just gets a little weird. Like, Autumn one time had, like, a weird piece of chicken that she was chopping, and then we didn't eat chicken for 2 months. Like, it was just like something that happened. So yeah, we see Hannibal preparing this dish, and he brings it out and says that it's he brings it out to Gideon, who he's got set up as at the head of his table, and he says, he thinks that cooking in clay adds a theatricality to a dish. Like, we come from clay, so we'll return to clay. And he looks, as he's opening this dish up to this roast of leg, he looks at Gideon and says, "Shall I cut?" And Gideon says, "You already have." And the camera pans below the table, and we see that he is missing an entire leg. That's not good. I don't know.
The gasp that I gasped when I realized what was going on. Like, there's just something so, like, deeply grotesque, not only about the cannibalism here, right? Because the cannibalism in and of itself is already pretty grotesque, but, like,
and we know that you can excuse that. We've got that
and we know
record.
that I can excuse that, but this idea of, like, forcing Gideon to eat his own flesh, like, I thought I was going to be sick in that moment. Like, I was like, oh, this is not good. Like, this is touching on something that I don't know why, but I don't like it at all. Like, this is the worst so far that I have felt watching this series. And
I think it's made even worse by Hannibal being so fucking happy about it. Gideon has a line here that is, it's hard to hold on to anything. It's a damn slippery life. And Hannibal says that, his legs are useless because he has a fractured spine. So this is a much more practical use for his legs. and Gideon slowly realizes, like, he says, like, am I my own last supper? And Hannibal is like, yes, the tragedy is not to die, but to be wasted. And Gideon even says, like, how do you politely refuse, this? And Hannibal's like, you don't. And realizing he's stuck, he takes a bite and swallows and says, my compliments to the chef. And I 100% agree with you that this is absolutely horrifying, horrific, terrible thing to do. But I just want to hammer home the point of how much it's made worse by Hannibal being so fucking happy and proud of himself that he's doing it. Like, you get the idea that this is something that he has maybe wanted to do for a long time and now has just now gotten the opportunity to do.
He is as happy doing this as he was composing his music, right?
Yes. Yes.
Like, to him, this is just another.
This is the same thing.
He's crafting. This is arts and crafts for him. The same way that I like journal or that I knit or whatever. He's like, let me feed you your own leg.
So I hadn't thought about this before, but he tells Tobias in the string shop in season 1 that he doesn't compose, he discovers.
Yes.
And it makes me wonder, with the relationship that we've made with him composing the harpsichord piece throughout this episode.
Yes.
And him discovering that piece, if he's now discovering stuff like this, like he is, because the kills that we see him do, there's 3 kills, right? Like, there's the city councilman, there's the guard with the fish hooks, and now actually, I guess we don't even see him kill Gideon, but there's this arguably worse than being murdered kind of situation that Gideon is.
Yes, absolutely. I would. Oh, okay. Just putting it out there, I would 100% rather be murdered
than forced to eat my own leg. Absolutely.
Yes.
100%.
Hashtag things I did not think I would need to say in front of a hot mic ever, but here we are.
Things that I just want to say in case this podcast is ever audited for legal reasons. Just want to make sure that I'm clear.
Sure.
But yeah, I wonder how much of this is. And I wonder if that's why he's so happy. If he's like, oh man, now my brain's kind of exploding, because I wonder how much of this is related to, like, this relationship with Will that he has, where he feels like creative again, right?
Yes.
Where he's discovering this ability.
I need to get my appetite back.
I need to get my appetite
what he said
back.
Earlier.
Absolutely. Like, and this relationship with Will, this back and forth, has now, like, engendered this idea of discovery. So he's writing music. He's killing people in ingenious ways. He's forcing people to do things that he has not made them do before, like eat their own flesh, and being so happy with it. Like, he's in this, like, period of. And and you so get that at the beginning of a relationship, right? Like, in the beginning of any kind of romantic relationship, you just get, like, goofy on love sometimes. And I almost wonder if this is Hannibal goofy on love. Is that a thing that could be happening?
I absolutely think so. I mean, remember in season 1 where he, that this dining lady was like, oh, you haven't done anything in like 2 years, and he's like, oh, inspiration has to strike. And he is currently very inspired, right? He talks about culinary arts, he talks about music as art, he talks about doing what he does. I think that's why I'm talking about murder mise en scène, right? Because it's not necessarily about the murder, it's about the story that he tells with the murder, right? And so now that he has a literal captive audience in Will, right, in his little crate, in his little, hospital, he can just create those things for him.
Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. And I think it goes like there's an essence of, we've talked about, like, not knowing what Will was like before the show started. Like, we just see him almost immediately start getting sick in episode 1. And then being further manipulated by Hannibal. Like, it gives us kind of a spotlight on what Hannibal was doing before this, which was obviously like you mentioned, like, being bored, being stagnant. I just fascinating idea that and going back to the thing that he told Will of, like, how you found a way to hurt me. I wonder how many other people will be hurt by the things that you do. Like, Will is kind of causing this in a way. He doesn't, I mean, it's not his fault, obviously. He's not trying to, but, like, Will has inspired these creative murders. And he's going to be so sick when he figures that out, if he ever does.
Well, that's, and I think that is also, like, what makes Hannibal feel so smug, right? He's like, I am going to make him so much worse, right? Like, Hannibal is not like, I can fix him. He's more like, I can make him worse.
I can make him like me.
I can make him like me.
And I think this is underlined in the next scene. So we go back to the lab. They've tested the meat. The meat is all normal meat. Expensive. Like they talk about how like there's $100 of Wagyu on the plate. Jimmy starts going into a long-winded definition between Kobe beef and Wagyu that we don't need to go into.
But I loved it. Was very interesting. I was like, oh, I did not know that.
But they talk about the fish hooks that were used to tie up the guard over Gideon's bed. We didn't talk about it, by the way. I wanted to mention a scene. We kind of got off because we don't really talk about the science stuff. There's a moment when Jack is at the scene of the crime, where the body is like literally hung above the bed, where Z is like, hey, come here. And like the camera shot is like at an upward angle from below, where they're like literally whispering to each other over this guard's like empty fucking gutted stomach. I don't know if you saw that. I don't know if that stood out to you, but it's a really bizarre scene, and I just kind of liked it. Anyway,
I think I was just reeling from the leg scene, and I think that everything that happens after that was kind of like in a fog, because I just even the second time I watched it, I was just like, this is literally the worst thing I've seen on television before.
It's horrifying. It's horrifying.
Yeah.
I think I need to go back and listen to it. I've got a voice memo from our mutual friend Mike. We're talking about this that I saved.
Oh yeah? Oh my God, I need to. So
we do our.
To know.
Yeah. I'll have to go back and listen to it, see if there's any season 3 or season 2 spoilers in there, so that we can listen to it together. Anyway, these fish hooks. So talking about Hannibal's sense of discovery, talking about his inspiration from Will, Hannibal has put pieces of bodies from all of the Ripper's victims and all of supposedly Will's victims in these fish hooks. So we going back to like Georgia Lass, to going to the bailiff and the judge, like there's toenails and bits of bone. Like it's a really gruesome thing. But it's also, again, we talk about like subterfuge. We talk about like saying something out loud for a different purpose. This is him confessing to all of the murders. This is him saying Will is innocent. This is him allowing Will to potentially get out of jail. Like And Jack realizes that. Jack's like, oh shit, like there was never any copycat. Will didn't do any of these crimes. Like this was all the Ripper. Like the magnitude of this is huge.
And it's a weird moment for me anyway, as a first time viewer, because it's like, Will didn't kill all those people. It's like, of course, like a WBK, right? Like we knew about this. But also, you just know that shit's about to get very real, because if the Ripper takes credit for all the murders, and again, like talking about the figurative noose getting tighter around Hannibal's neck, like what is he doing? Like what quote unquote work is he quote unquote composing to get himself out of this one, right? Like what is going on? What is the subterfuge? What is happening? And I don't believe that this show would give us a good thing without taking a lot away from us.
Oh, this show has made you so untrustworthy.
So untrustful.
Untrusting, I should say. Untrusting.
Untrusting. Yeah. No, it's true. Yeah. So untrustful of the show.
Yeah, of anything. Who needs an unreliable narrator when you just have an unreliable TV show that we're doing a podcast on?
And it's yeah. So I'm kind of like, I'm happy that Will is probably going to get out of prison, but I'm also like incredibly scared for what's about to come in this like part 2 of season 2.
Yes. Also, like I like this idea of him taking credit back. Like now that he's dealt with Gideon, who is supposedly who was in some circles believed to be the Chesapeake River. Now that he's presumably killed him, like we don't know that, but presumably killed Gideon. Like now he's taking credit for all of his work. Like that was a thing that you could tell bothered him as he would read Freddie Lowndes' blog and everything. Like he's very much arrogant and proud of the compositions of these discoveries that he's making. So he wants the world to know that it is him.
Well, see, there you go. Okay, so you said something that just kind of unlocked it for me. It feels like he's cleaning house.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That makes perfect sense to me. Like it's a spring cleaning kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. So he's cleaning house right now. He's like, no, I did all of this. Will is innocent of this anyway. I'm going to kill Gideon. And this is why, to me, Alana is in such danger, because she's very intertwined with the story, but also Freddie Lowndes. Like, are we going to get Super Freddie? Because I feel like that's going to happen. Just saying.
I love it. Like, we haven't seen, like, I know this is an episode about lidded soup, but also, like, every single person, you're like, are we going to get soup of so-and-so?
Well, it's because he hasn't made soup of anything. Like, I just want to see him make soup. That's all. We're going into January in our universe, in our podcasting universe.
It's
and I'm
soup
just
time.
like,
It's absolutely
it's
soup
time, baby. Like, I just want to see soup.
The crime people also found a piece of bark that is traced back to the same area of 50 miles where they found like the weird tree bugs. And it basically like zeroes them down onto like a house, essentially.
Yes.
And yeah, Jack goes out there by himself in the middle of the night, which is like, how do you FBI? I don't understand. I don't even understand this.
I mean, my exact words when I first saw that was, Jack, I swear to God, if you are going out to a remote area by yourself at night, I will fight you.
Yes. Bring like Jimmy. Like, you gave Beverly a gun, give Jimmy a gun. Like, I don't.
I know, right?
But no, he goes in by himself, and it's for plot reasons. Obviously, like this is just going to build tension. And we're going to cut back and forth between Hannibal finishing his quote unquote discovery of his harpsichord piece and Hannibal exploring this building. He goes downstairs. He sees that there's these huge tanks embedded in the floor, and he opens the first one, and we see like water kind of halfway up, which tells us that like this is where the city councilman was, like when he was being turned into a tree. I don't think they specifically say that, but like it's kind of obvious to me that they mentioned that he was like knee deep in water or whatever. So we get the creepy feeling of him going to the next one, and he opens the lid, and inside is a woman with one arm, and we are terrified to realize that it is Miriam Lass. And Jack says Miriam, like astonished, and Hannibal hits like the low bass chord on the harpsichord, and he kind of smiles to himself again, just knowing that he has set all of this up and that he is like, now the game is afoot, basically. Like, now all bets are off. Who knows what's going to happen? He's just so excited to have caused all this chaos.
I miss Bedelia.
Oh, really?
I don't like that tone, Jeremy. But what I'm trying to say is that like she was at least kind of like a force that kind of like kept Hannibal together in a way.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't like your tone.
You're absolutely right. Like, I think you're absolutely right. Like, I think her encouragement of him to not participate in these things, to not pursue his relationship with Will, to not be as close to the FBI, and having that not be there anymore, is giving him the kind of room to express / discover his creative output a little more, and cause these horrifying things, like Jack finding his acolyte, I guess, for lack of a better word, his trainee that he thought was dead for the last few years, alive in the bottom of this barrel. Like, the implications of that are fucking horrifying.
And again, the same way that I am terrified of Will getting out of prison, even though it should be a good thing, right? I am terrified of what this means, because like, you find a woman alive that you thought was dead. Like, that should be, in all accounts, a good thing, right? Yeah. You find her alive. She's alive, right? But the fact that Hannibal is allowing that is so scary to me, because isn't she just going to point the finger at him? And if she doesn't, then what did he do to her?
Yes.
I'm so terrified of pressing play on the next episode.
Yeah, I would be too if I were you. I would definitely be a little worried about the rest of season 2. I think watching this as a new viewer, like, discovering that he has kept Miriam alive, discovering that he like obviously surgically cut her arm off and like cared for her through that process, is so much more terrifying than him just killing people and eating them, right? Like, it's so much more work and effort, and it requires so much more heartlessness and lack of empathy, and like just like a disregard for the human right to exist. Like, it makes him into such a fucking monster. Not that he already wasn't, but like just seeing her at the bottom of this and knowing that she's been there for literally years, and that he cut off her arm just to fucking like make Jack feel a feeling, is monstrous to a degree that we had no idea a person could be a monster.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that there's a commentary on this show about like, of course, cannibalism, and like, is it is it ethical to eat animals if it's not ethical to eat humans kind of thing, which anyway, I could say a lot about that, but even humans don't amputate animals to eat them. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
that is not something that we consider to be a humane thing to do. So yeah, I completely agree. There's like a lot of, it's the implications.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the implications.
It's the implications like that. Thinking of that I don't know if do you watch It's Always Sunny? Have you ever seen any of those episodes? Yeah.
No,
anyway,
I
there's
don't. Sorry.
I'll send you a scene about the implications. That's
The implications.
yeah, it's very very funny. And horrifying also. This was such a shock. We talked about this at the top of the podcast, but like you had no expectation that Miriam was alive,
No.
right? Like this was a total
None.
shock, total surprise. And
Like I felt like I felt my blood pressure drop in that moment. Literally, like I felt my heart just like literally skipping a beat, not out of anything else but horror, frankly.
yeah, it's terrifying. It does,
Yeah.
and then the episode just ends with this harpsichord note, which is and just the Hannibal smile, and we go to credits. Is just. Yeah.
Right, because that's also the thing, right? Like Jack did not discover this. Hannibal led him to
directly
it.
to it. Yeah.
And that's not a good thing usually when Hannibal leads Jack places.
And I genuinely wonder if Jack knows that. Like if Jack is starting to suspect, like, oh, because he, they planted the Ripper planted evidence that made it look like Will did all of this. So like it's not out of the league of possibility that he planted the evidence to lead Jack to Miriam at this specific time, which I believe 100%. But I wonder if Jack has figured that out. Like if he realized he's being played that badly.
Well, so actually that leads into another one of my questions here, because when I finished watching this episode for the first time, I was like, okay, so this is hold on, let me just go back. I want to make sure that I get it right. This is week 6 of like what, 12, 13?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
We're literally midway into this season. We know what happens at the end of the season because we saw it in the first scene of the season. What can possibly take 6 more weeks? Right? So I'm like, I think that if I were to, again, as a new viewer, I would be like, does Hannibal just plant other like evidence to say that it's somebody else, that it's Chilton maybe? Like, I don't know. Oh, looking in the wrong box, maybe. I don't know. He's just so, he needs a good middle naming.
Mm-hmm. He does need a middle name. I agree. I'm looking at the next episode to see if I remember which episode it is.
I can read you the synopsis if you would like.
No, I got it.
Okay.
It. I really just wanted to look at screenshots, and I am recognizing. Things happen.
Is it the horse episode?
It's not the horse episode. We're getting close. We're getting close. Episode 8 is the horse episode.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So just a couple more weeks, and we'll be there.
Yeah.
Episode 8 is also the origin of that famous screenshot that you always see with Hannibal wrapping his hand around the back of Will's neck. So you've got that to look forward to, just to put that in your head.
I'm so excited.
I was mostly curious when a certain character shows up, and I think it's in episode 10 is when.
Ooh.
Things are going to get gross real quick. Anyway,
Excellent.
I think going back to our theme and like the idea of how this episode is transformational. The subterfuge that Hannibal employs throughout this episode, revealing pretty much everything, but for massively different reasons. And again, having this kind of clean house thing, I think sets the stage for some very interesting things to happen for the rest of season 2. So I'm very excited to get there and watch more episodes of Hannibal. So I'm into it.
I mean, I have an hour before my mom gets here for lunch.
Let's wrap up this episode so you can scream in the Discord.
Yeah.
Let's go to our haiku section.
Perfect.
I'll let you.
Would you like to get it? We're like, would you like to get started?
I'll go first. My haiku this week is: Is there a good life after you have wronged me twice? Does forgiving hurt?
I love your haikus.
Thank you so much. That's so nice. I appreciate the compliment so much.
Okay, so mine goes: your antlers, my mind, and nothing to distract me with growing.
Oof, chills. I love that. Absolute chills. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We so much appreciate it. We hope you're enjoying these episodes. Please continue to download them, talk about them on YouTube and on Spotify, chat with us. Look in the show notes for a link to our Discord if you want to come watch Mary freak out every week and the Mary Reactions channel as she watches these episodes for the first time, and also talk about Hannibal and post Hannibal fan art from all of your faves. And yeah, we really appreciate each and every one of you. And until next week, bon appetit, everybody.
Bon appetit. But not too much.
But not too much.
But not too much.
Not the leg.
Not the leg!
Not the leg.
Oh.
I'm actually going to name the episode Not the Leg. That'll be fun.
Not the leg.
Perfect.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, hold on. Well, I don't know why it's not working. I can't hear you, but it is entirely probably my issue. So give me just a second.
I can hear you fine.
Sure. There you go.
Up.
Perfect.
There we go.
Plug in my headphones with a wire with an aux cable. And my computer is too dumb to know that I did that because I plugged it into my mic. So yeah.
You have to inform the computer of your many decisions.
Exactly. There you go. The computer was not aware of my many decisions.
Computers are idiots.
Computers are so dumb.
They're so dumb. We think they're very smart, but they're so dumb.
They're as dumb as the person operating them.
Yeah, we used to call that above the keyboard problem back in my IT days. It's an above the keyboard issue. It's how we would very tactfully say that the person was an idiot.
Yeah. There you go. It's nicer than user issue, I guess.
Yeah. The other one I like that I bring out quite a bit, mostly like with like real basic stuff. Like if the microwave isn't working, and Autumn's having trouble, I'll be like, you have to be smarter than the machine to use the machine. And nobody likes that. It's so mean. It's so rude. It's so rude.
It's like Bake Off level rude.
It's Bake Off level, absolutely Bake Off level rude. It's something that weird bald guy would probably have said.
Yes, that's
Matt.
exactly what he would say. Mm-hmm. Oh, he's so mean.
I saw there were holiday Bake Off episodes, but I haven't watched any of them. I wasn't really. I don't really feel them holiday episode, the one-off episodes for some reason.
Oh, you don't like them? I kind of love them because they bring back some of your favorites also, and it's kind of nice to see them in a different setting where it's a little less high stakes, and they can be a little more weird or a little more daring than they were during the Bake Off. Plus, they've grown since. I don't know. I love the holiday episodes, as you can tell.
Yeah, it's definitely cute. I like the stand up to cancer episodes a lot, just because they get the weirdest fucking celebrities on there that I always trip out about.
So I have always wondered for these, do these people who clearly some of them have never baked in their lives, do they show up with recipes or are they given recipes? I would assume that they're given recipes.
I think that they are expected. I think it kind of works just like the normal show, where the first one, the signature bake or whatever. They're supposed to have practiced that at home, right? They're supposed to. They are expected to have done that. And then of course, and I think for the showstopper as well. Now, how many of the celebrities actually do it? You can very clearly tell which ones have done it and which ones have not. That James A. Caster one always comes to mind. I think that's probably one of the best ones. But
I've never seen that one yet. But
it's so good. It's so good.
I so badly want to watch it because of that sound bite, right?
Yes.
It's just so good.
Who is the dude that played Charles Xavier in the recent X-Men movies? I couldn't remember his name.
Oh my gosh, I could never give you his name.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know.
But
I know exactly who you're talking about.
He was on an episode.
What?
And he clearly came prepared. Like, the dude was ready to bake.
David Schwimmer also, like...
Yeah, we watched that episode. I remember that.
That was a really good one. And he just, like... You could tell that this is stuff that he had done before. Like, that he... You know, if he doesn't bake every day, he has baked in his life, you know?
Yeah. There's people that prepare for that show. People that do not. I would be an over preparer. Like, I would have been, like, I get signed to do the bake off, and I would spend a month baking to make sure that I understand the ins and outs, because I wouldn't want to embarrass myself. And then I would probably forget all of it in the whatever the technical challenge would be.
So I don't know if you have it in the States, but like we have the Canadian baking show.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I have thought so many times that I should apply. I should apply. But I'm like, I don't know. Do I really want to? Like,
yes, absolutely. Is because what's his name? Schitt's Creek guy used to host that, right?
He used to. No, but he doesn't anymore. Because
Yeah.
he got really upset with CBC, and with reason. He was right to be upset because a critic basically called the show too gay.
Nice.
And
nice.
CBC said nothing, and he was like, I don't want to work for people who won't protect queer people.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is so respectable, and I love that for you.
Yeah, at least he didn't leave in, at least he didn't Paul Hollywood, the American baking show, where he cheated on his wife and the whole show canceled. Canceled, so. Way to go, Paul.
Yeah, anyway, whatever. This is the kind of stuff that makes me so uncomfortable because it's so awkward.
Yes, absolutely.
So awkward. Really? Your co-star? Oh my God.
What are you doing, Paul Hollywood?
What are you doing?
I have such a love-hate relationship with Paul Hollywood, mostly hate. I don't like every time he I don't know, there's something about his eyes, like that those crystal blue eyes that everybody kind of talks about and makes jokes about, but like to me they just read as sinister. Like that dude is. And like the way that he responds to young women versus young men, and in some cases, is just really like suspect to me. Like I just don't like it a lot of times. Even if he could be completely innocent. Like it's really difficult to pick up on intentions in a TV show, right? Like a reality TV show that has been edited 100%. And all of that stuff. But also the dude looks sus, is all I'm saying.
I find that he looked a lot more sus in the past few years, and that now he's kind of grown into his like grumpy old man persona, because you can kind of see him like joking in an old man way now, in a way that like we didn't see him before. Like he took himself a little too seriously, or he appeared to take himself a little too seriously. Mm-hmm. But I really think that the persona that we see on TV is not actually the man behind the persona.
Yeah, you're not
like
wrong.
I truly believe that, because I feel like it's starting to peak out a little bit more with the years, and it's just like, yeah.
Also, I don't know if I've told you this, but it's one of my common rants about the Great British Bake Off that I cannot stand, is that Paul cuts all of the other person's food. He did this with Mary Berry, and he does it with Prue too. He's always touching the other person's food with his big meaty hands, and I despise it so much. Like, I mean, like Prue is a grown woman. She can get her own like fucking lemon sorbet cake or whatever. Like, you don't have to like slice it in two and then put your meaty paws on it and then put it on her plate. I don't know and I'm sure like there's all kinds of protections, especially since COVID, right? Like I'm sure that they do like everything, but at the same time, just don't touch my food, Paul. I don't want you to don't touch Prue's food. It's so weird. He does it. I don't know. It's just so bizarre. I don't like it. And so that's my.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah,
I never thought about it that way.
If you watch a season, I will have ruined the Bake Off for you now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I see it now. Like it's like it's the mirror shattering moment.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
You've shattered the mirror.
It's all coming down, funny. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Hey, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Even though I don't actually know when
March.
I don't know when this episode is coming out, but
March 16th.
March 16th. Excellent. Okay.
March 16th, is it? Is that it? Maybe.
That's what you have on the report.
That's what I have on there, so hopefully that's right. Yeah, Merry Christmas. Did you, so, do you want to tell us about your culinary adventures?
Oh my
of,
God. I
Christmas?
would rather you, because all of your stuff was perfect. Like you were posting straight up bake off like pictures on various Discord servers that we share. And it looked amazing. Like all of the food that you made looked absolutely amazing. So.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that, honestly. I was really proud of myself, and I rarely say that after cooking or baking, but I was really proud of what I made. My mom asked for Christmas to have like a beef roast of some sort, and I was like, okay. So I ended up getting prime rib, and you had warned me about how expensive it was.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically
I did
like
not heed that warning.
It's very expensive ribeyes. It's like 10 very expensive ribeyes. Basically, is what you just bought.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was, and I was just like, oh my God, that's a lot of money. I was not expecting it to be that expensive. Plus I also I didn't go to Costco, you know what I mean? Like I went to like a
butcher.
small butcher, and so I got the prime rib, and I was so terrified of overcooking it, or just not cooking it properly. And my dad put the fear of God in me actually about that, where he was like, oh, you don't want to ruin
Thanks, Dad.
And I'm like, ruin? I don't want to ruin it. What are you saying?
We were definitely like that when we did our first prime rib, because bringing home a $200 piece of meat is like it's a ridiculous thing. Like it's
exactly
it's absolutely ridiculous. And then all of a sudden, there's a ton of pressure to make sure that it's good.
Well, so 3 days before Christmas, I ordered a temperature probe.
Perfect timing.
I was like, okay, I have to do that. So I went on Amazon and I got the thing, and so I cooked the prime rib. It was like probably the best piece of meat I've ever had, frankly. Nice. It was so good. I also made some mashed potatoes with lots of butter and cream, and some roasted garlic, of course.
And then just like a million types of cookies. Like you kept just like sending me pictures of like I've done with more cookies, and I'm like, how many people do you have at your house?
No, it's so usually during the month that leads up to Christmas, I make a batch of cookies every weekend, because I found that making all of the cookies at one time is like too time consuming, too hard, and just not pleasant. Mm-hmm. And then you have too many cookies that go bad all at the same time. So I scale spread it out. And so I made gingerbread cookies for the first ones I made. Then I made some Linzer cookies. And then after that, closer to Christmas, I remade Linzers. I made crinkles, and I made thumbprint cookies. So that was fun.
It's nice. Yeah. Extremely nice. Autumn did Stalin cookies. Again, that's kind of our one cookie recipe that we always go to every year.
Okay, you need to explain that one to me, because I had never heard of Stalin cookies. I know what a Stalin is, but isn't that usually like bready almost?
It is, yeah. But
okay.
she found, she either found or invented, I think she must have found a recipe for cookies. And it's kind of the same thing, like with the cranberries and the cherries and everything inside of it, just, in cookie form instead of bread form. Mm. So she lays out, she makes the dough, and then she spreads it flat, and then she spreads the little figgy substance on it or whatever, the figgy spread, and then she rolls it up. And then we freeze it, and then after it's frozen, you can slice it off and make perfect little cookies. So generally, we'll bake half a dozen at a time, and then consume them rapidly. And then, but we'll have a whole huge tube at the end of it, so we can just keep getting out of the freezer and let's make 6 more solid cookies.
That's amazing. Well, because that's when they're the best, right? When they're fresh out of the oven.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Very smart. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, our we weren't quite so successful with meat this year. So
tell me about that, because
our plan was to do, so we're doing a small Christmas, so it's just me and Autumn and her dad. So our plan was on Christmas Eve night, we were going to do beef Wellingtons. So not a beef Wellington, like a Gordon Ramsay style, huge beef Wellington, but 2 steaks like with individually wrapped and everything. But we ended up like doing too much Christmas stuff, so we were like, we're too lazy to cook. We're just going to order it. So we had dumplings. So that was perfect. The dumplings from the local dumpling place were incredible.
Awesome.
And the next day we did brunch, which was also super good. So we, and again, kind of like had one of those moments where we were just kind of doing a little too much and didn't want to make a big production. So we're like, okay, we're going to do croque monsieur. Instead, we're just going to do like eggs and biscuits and gravy. Southern style, like biscuits and gravy. Autumn's biscuit and gravy is amazing.
Yeah, that looked delicious, by the way. I was very jealous.
The sausage gravy looks legit. It is extremely legit.
I was like, ooh, that looks real.
And it's real fucking good. So that night we decided to do the individual beef Wellingtons. And this is like, so I think a beef Wellington is like a dish, right? Like it is a like center of the table, like accomplishment dish, I think, like, right. So we've always wanted to make one. Or I say we, like Autumn and I guess we have always wanted to make one. Autumn does all of the work on this. I do zero effort there, but I take care of all of the dishes. That's my job.
Listen, it's still very, very important.
I am the sous chef. So we didn't do it. We did 2 individual ones. So she and we didn't. Neither one of us like mushrooms that much, so we didn't do like the mushroom spread that you normally do. Instead, we tried to find pate, couldn't find pate, so we did hogshead cheese, which I don't know if y'all have hogshead cheese up there. That's kind of a southern thing, maybe. It sounds disgusting. I know when I say hogshead cheese, you're like, why would you make cheese out of a hogshead? But it's not that.
No. I mean, you. Remember that I come from the Texas of France?
That's true.
So like, oh.
Yeah, absolutely. You're like, give me some of that hogshead cheese.
I know. I'm like, I want to try the hogshead cheese.
It's basically like it's kind of like a pate, right? Like it's the same texture, just with different flavor profile. So mustard on the steaks, and then the hogshead cheese, and then wrapped it up in like a little pastry thing. We seared the steaks off, and then before putting them in, of course. And it just. So I guess like in hindsight, like the reason that people like a beef Wellington is because like it's a chuck tender roast basically. That's not like an expensive cut of meat, and all of the stuff that you're putting on the meat like makes the meat better, right? Like that's the thing. When you buy 2 nice fillets and you wrap them up in pastry, you've just ruined 2 nice fillets. You've just because you bake them for a while. So like I like meat mostly rare. So like I like a rare fillet steak. Actually, I prefer New York strips nowadays, but whatever. But it just became like kind of like a slightly overcooked, pastry filled kind of situation that was just okay. Like it was okay. Like it wasn't like terrible or anything, but it was not what we were expecting at all. It's not what we were. Neither of us wanted. Like we were literally like pulling the steak out of the pastry.
That's so unfortunate.
Yeah. So it was. You know, it's fine. You learn lessons along the way in life, so it's fine. But also ruin Christmas. So
yes, of course, that thing ruined Christmas.
Yes, absolutely.
That one thing.
This one thing.
Because I mean the issue is that if you're doing them individually, to cook the pastry, it still takes some time, right?
Yes.
Right, and so like because all of the beef Wellingtons that I've seen, they're usually rare inside.
Yes. So like when you slice them, they're supposed to be like really pink in the middle, like almost maybe like too rare, right?
They're just rare enough that like that person that doesn't like rare meat is like,
no, yeah,
I don't know. I'll have the end.
It makes people that don't eat rare meat go like that's raw, and you're like that's not raw, but I get it, like I see it
exactly.
So yeah, it just ended up not being like I think just like. And because Autumn actually made a side steak for her dad who didn't want a beef Wellington. He just was like, "I'm going to have this fillet," and that came out perfect.
Yeah,
it was brilliant. So Autumn was like, "It's not. I don't think it's me. I think it's the dish." And I'm like, "Yeah, I think it was us choosing to make the stuff like this."
I don't think this is definitely not an Autumn problem. Don't worry about that. Like that's not an issue.
Absolutely not. She made the fondant potatoes to go with, and some crispy green beans, which were amazing. So the fondant potatoes they take forever, but they are so good. So
Yeah, that looked amazing. I didn't have the patience for that. I was like, nope, just mash.
Just doing the mashed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need mashed potatoes, though. That's
The thing is, like, I love mashed potatoes, and I find that they go so well with meat. Like, it's just such a comforting meal. Like, so delicious.
one of the favorite things we do is Norwegian meatballs. We'll just make a shit ton of meatballs and some Norwegian gravy, and just plop it on some mashed potatoes. Go to town, have a good time with it. So.
Oh my god, yeah, of course. Like, yeah.
Do you think it's weird that we are podcasting about a show about cannibalism and like a lot of our outtakes talk is about food? Like a lot, like a good board. Both of us love to eat. We both love food, so I guess it makes sense. But also, it's a little strange.
So I mean, there's a scene in this episode where I was just like, I don't know if I could ever look at meat the same way. But it's not true. I ate my Christmas prime rib. I devoured it. It was fine.
Did y'all have any leftovers? Did you do sandwiches or anything?
Yeah. We have a bunch of leftovers. Actually, my mom's coming over for lunch. We're gonna. I don't know what she's gonna want to do, but I like it just slightly reheated. So I'm gonna do that. I don't know if my mom's gonna want it, because in France, like, you would just eat in France, meat leftovers means cold meat with mustard.
Sure. Gotcha.
Okay. So like that, and that's, I don't know, apparently that's weird in the rest of the world, but that's how we eat like leftover meat. So I don't know if she's going to want to do that or not.
The specific mustard thing, I think, is probably the oddest part of that. Just like being like, no, it has to be with mustard is a strange vibe. But otherwise, like, I'm totally with you. Like, I will straight up just eat a cold steak, like leftover steak or whatever. Like, I'm not scared.
So if you don't like, so for people who don't like mustard, you also have the option of eating it with mayo.
Somehow worse. Somehow worse.
Are you one of those people who hates mayo?
I don't hate mayo. I hate mayo in large. It's a condiment, right? Like I like ketchup, but I don't need a lot of ketchup in my life, right? I don't need a lot of mayonnaise in my life.
Okay,
so
fair
like
enough.
if I make a sandwich, I put mayonnaise on it. I don't do, like, once you get into like the Midwest and they're like obsessed with mayonnaise salads and all this other crap, like all of that stuff is really, really gross to me. But I'm also like I'm a person who doesn't like too much of any one thing on a dish. Like a lot of like TikTok videos do like that over food production thing where they're like, we're gonna just slather this with bacon sauce and squish it and it's gonna ooze out, and I'm like, ugh, all of that is disgusting to me.
That's also fetish content, just letting you know.
Yeah. I have since discovered that. Yeah, someone told me that.
I think it was me.
I can't remember. There's a word for it that I learned that is like a specific type of content, which is, and I now don't remember the word for it. But it was like a specific kind of like streamer who like streams specific food stuff, and I was like, okay, well, this is too much for sure. Yeah, I don't like this.
And it's often also like it's when you see those videos of like these perfectly manicured women on a very clean counter, and then they get their hands like into the food. That's fetish content. That's 100%
super strange to me.
Yes,
I mean, I get it.
Exactly.
I get it. I mean, like people. Look, jerk off to whatever you want to. I'm not gonna judge.
Exactly, right?
But, yeah.
And the trick to recognizing it is like, if it makes you feel slightly off, that's fetish content. That's made to make you feel like that. And the people who respond to it will respond to it.
It's that classic line from a senator in the pornography trials back in like the Larry David Hustler days of like, I don't know what, I can't define pornography, but I know it when I see it, right? Like, the difference between Lita and the Swan and fucking pornography. So. Yeah. Although Lita and the Swan is kind of pornographic, I'm going to be honest with you. Having that at your dinner table in your dining room is just insane. So
yeah, I love that he comes back up, actually.
Me too. Like, I was so excited. I was like, yes, thank you. He recognized it. Somebody that's not just me.
And I love that no one is like, that's a weird thing to have in your dining room,
just chill.
Hannibal.
Everybody's so chill about it. Yeah, like
exactly. Oh my God. Anyway.
Well, I guess let's talk about the show.
I want to talk about the show.
Yeah, let's do this.
And the conclusion that I've drawn is that you are